That's all right. Let's take a look at traffic one more time on Interstate 80 from the Quad Cities all the way to Iowa City. And yeah, things are looking pretty good out there, though we're already seeing some of those wet roadways right around Iowa City itself. That rain associated with that line that has plenty of severe weather with it, and we'll be talking more about that. Full coverage coming up in about 7 minutes from now, Shelby.
All right, thanks, James. And this weekend, we'll have a brand new episode of This Week for you. Here's John Diaz with the preview.
Coming up Sunday morning on News 8 This Week, we'll talk with Iowa gubernatorial candidate Rob Sand about what he's calling his Truer, Better agenda. Our conversation will focus on the part of the plan that deals with accountability. Plus, for 90 years, Youth Hope has been serving kids in the QC. Sunday morning, we'll hear from the executive director to learn some of the big news for them and what it means for the organization and how you can be part of their 90th anniversary celebration. Those stories coming up Sunday morning at 10 on News 8 This Week.
All right, thanks, John. But you know what, we do have severe weather moving back into our area right now, so we're gonna go back into wall-to-wall coverage. We're gonna toss it over to Andrew right now, who's had a very long week, very long day, tracking those storms. What you got right now, Andrew?
Yeah, it has definitely been a long week, no doubt about it. We've been in the midst of a little bit of a break here in our region, but that break is quickly coming to an end as active, not only severe thunderstorm warnings, but now a few active tornado warnings are looming just off to the west. In terms of who is under an active warning right now, we have at least one of our counties, actually two of our counties partially under some warnings right now. So we'll get our bearings here first, show you the radar, of course, where storms are, where they're headed, but let's get the warning out of the way first so you can see where we're concentrating on. And that is in Jackson County here. In fact, to the north of you, up into parts of Dubuque County, you've actually got an active tornado warning there until 6 o'clock, and it actually does extend into that northern little hump of Jackson County, southwest of Galena. So it looks like the same areas that just got done with not only some hail-producing thunderstorms, but also some rotation, are once again going to be impacted by yet another storm that could potentially produce some damage. Let me go to the severe thunderstorm warning. That is in effect and does include Maquoketa, Monticello, Fairview, and Hermosa. That is until 5:45. Quarter-size hail and 70-mile-per-hour winds. I can't believe we're doing this again here. Getting ready to go back into Joe Daviess County, back into Galena, back into Dubuque with yet another severe storm. Let's put the tracker on that. Again, this is heading mostly to the east now. And here's your estimated time of arrival. We've got Dubuque in there at 5:26, Galena 5:35. Let's put it a little further south too, because I want to make sure we're including Maquoketa, because you're going to see some impacts from this, whether it be hail or wind. So let's take it there. And 5:24 for Maquoketa. Then you've got Delmar at 5:29, 5:41 for Galena. Let's look at the individual threats here. Let's start with the hail first, because no doubt we've been dealing with a lot of that today in addition to the tornado threat. There you see the hail probability quite high. We're also seeing a building hail core north of Monticello. This is all heading east. So unfortunately, it looks like eventually northern Jackson County and once again western Jackson County are going to be dealing with some hail. Likely right now quarter size, but again, that could build even more as these storms are continuing to go off to the east. So a very active scene already with those multiple warnings to the north. We're also tracking to the south of that more warnings that are just on the edge of many of our hometowns, including Burlington. Mount Pleasant is currently under an active severe thunderstorm warning for not only quarter-size hail, but some 70-mile-per-hour winds from those storms you can see just sitting to the west of town. Definitely some damaging wind producers there with an embedded tornado threat. And then as you go southwest of Burlington, there you see this. It's a canary-colored severe thunderstorm warning, meaning tornado development is possible with these new storms moving up ahead of the main line. Then further north, just to the west there of Wapello and Muscatine, you've got a tornado warned storm that also has a considerable damaging wind threat. So as we zoom out on this, and I'll show you the loop so you can see where everything is eventually going, it looks like our threat of severe weather is quickly ramping up along and south of Interstate 80 on the Iowa side of the river. And the timing, you know, we're coming up on 3 minutes to 5 o'clock. We're still on track to see the majority of this move into the immediate Quad Cities metro right around 6 o'clock. And all of this will likely maintain itself. So we're talking about a widespread damaging wind threat, also an embedded tornado threat. Can't rule that out either, not to mention some very heavy rain. Timing's unfortunate, of course. We're talking about the evening commute. A lot of you are going to be on the road. Don't forget, if you're traveling, as soon as the immediate Quad Cities is placed under a warning, a threatening warning, we will simulcast our coverage with our iHeartRadio media stations, our partners there. You're talking about Mix 96, KISS FM, WOC AM, and possibly over at WLLR. So make sure you have your radio tuned close by to those stations here in the next hour, especially in the Quad Cities as these storms are coming in, James.
That's right, and it certainly has been a very busy afternoon, and certainly be even more so as we make our way into the early evening. One of the things I want to address too is that what we've been noticing, especially in the immediate Quad Cities, is that we've had about 1,100 customers without power. Now, I'm not sure if Harrison has his microphone on or even Shelby. We would certainly like to know if there's any updates regarding why that is the case. And more importantly, will those customers get power actually before those storms actually arrive? Because it certainly is important to find out what type of, when it comes to our coverage around here. Naturally, if you have your phone, you can certainly dash into our app and eventually listen in on the coverage. But I think the people who don't have the power certainly like rely on their television instead of their laptop or their phone. So Harrison or Shelby, any updates regarding that?
Yeah, oh, sorry, Harrison. I was going to say, yeah, James, right now we still have over 1,100 customers in the Illinois Quad Cities that are without power from Mid-American right now. The majority of those are clustered in Rock Island County. We're seeing a lot of those over by, let me zoom in over here, Barstow has about 300 impacted customers. You go up a little bit across not quite Rapid City, but you zoom in a little bit closer. Rapid City, Port Byron area has close to 1,000 customers. Iowa side's a little different. We only have about 40 customers that are without power at this moment. We have not got confirmation just yet from Mid-American if this is storm related. We did hear some reports it could have been from downed power lines, but that is not confirmed. Harrison, did you have anything else to say with her?
Yeah, when I actually called a little while ago, one of the representatives on the phone was able to tell me they do have 12 poles down north of their substation in Rock Island County. They're working to get that fixed, but like you said, there's no official word on if that was storm related or not. There's also 40 people affected by outages on the Quad City, Iowa side, aside from the 1,150 that we're currently seeing as of the latest Mid-American map update. But that is also in relation to this as well. And in terms of Ameren outages, we're not seeing too many in our area. However, we are seeing quite a bit of outages a bit further south in central Illinois. So.
Yep, and just a reminder too, if you ever have news that is happening near you and if it is safe, please, we want to emphasize this is only for if it is safe. You can text us your photos or videos to 309-304-0888. You can also always email us, news@wqad.com. And folks, your photos and videos actually really help not only us, but also the team over at the National Weather Service. So we want to say a big thank you to everyone that has already sent us in a few hail photos that we've gotten in just over the last few minutes. So we'll continue to look at these as they roll in. But James, you're also watching a lot of things that are rolling in right now.
Yeah, let's go ahead, and because as you guys were talking, Andrew was kind of going back with the reflectivity, but more importantly, that velocity mode. And I tell you, Andrew, that looks really impressive outside of Monticello, Cascade. And that's a storm that once again could impact Bellevue, where they did have rotation earlier on this afternoon.
Yeah, it's heading right to same areas that have already been impacted. So that's because of the strength of the south winds today. They just continue to replenish not only the moisture, but the energy, even as storms have already rolled through. That is also a really impressive wind signature, as you mentioned, southeast of Monticello. But right now, our radar algorithm's actually indicating some tornadic potential right near Cascade, just to your south. Things are starting to tighten up and begin to spin a little bit here. So that is going to head right to the east here, crossing over into Jackson County eventually, getting into Otter Creek, also maybe potentially Bellevue again, having to deal with some really strong severe thunderstorm activity too. Just looks like we also just northwest of Cascade had a 67 mile per hour wind gust.
Wow.
West northwest of Cascade by about 3 miles. So that matches up with what we're seeing on radar. Look at how
Oh,
fast
wow.
that rush of wind is moving through Monticello.
Yeah, especially in the lower end of it, but that potential rotation may be going on. So that's some really, compared to that whole line, that's some really intense wind that's coming down from the storm itself. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was stronger than that. Here's the tracker that Andrew is putting up right now. And how about this? Why don't you do that tracker again? I want to get Bellevue in here because, you know, Bellevue got pounded early this afternoon. And Bellevue, you may be impacted again by this, by that same storm.
Yeah, this is actually a picture from a viewer that was submitted named Bob. This is actually some hail from across the river over in Bellevue that you can see right there.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for that picture. That really helps big time.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the activity that we had earlier on in the day. Let's go back to that velocity mode, and there we go. And there is Bellevue on there. So there's a storm, and if you're in Maquoketa, if you're in Andrew again, my goodness, Bellevue, 548. You're going to be impacted by this storm. This is a very dangerous situation with the wind that's taking place. Of course, we have to be concerned about more heavy rain. We had about a good 1 to 2, 3 inches just from those earlier storms, and this one is packing a punch as far as heavy rain is concerned. But we're concerned too about that wind and possibly power outages that may go on with that storm as it approaches Otter Creek, maybe grazing Maquoketa itself, but certainly does have eyes for Bellevue and Otter Creek, 519, maybe around Bellevue, just at the bottom of the hour. That storm is definitely going to be impacting you as it continues to move, about 50 miles an hour or so. You have to factor in this. The storm is moving at 50 miles an hour. The winds coming down from the storm, you pretty much add to that. Okay, simple math there. And this is where you have that potential of seeing winds maybe around 70 miles an hour. And it could be even stronger given what we're seeing here on our velocity mode. So a very dangerous storm, Andrew, as it makes its way from west to east.
Yeah, you're right about the wind. In fact, the National Weather Service just commenting that surges of winds up to 80 plus miles an hour are going to be possible in that storm just based on the look of radar here. You can see how bright those colors are on the wind direction and the speed. I am not surprised. Also notice the bowing appearance here, how it's surging forward, also indicating that really strong wind potential. So as we've said most of today so far, it doesn't take a tornado to produce significant damage alone. You can get significant damage just from this producing 80 plus mile an hour winds, and that potential is rapidly increasing if you live I would say in the north half. Actually, at this point, it looks like nearly all of Jackson County, because this is even extending down to Wyoming. So Jackson County, you're about ready to get rocked here in the next 30 minutes or so. Really need to treat this with some seriousness.
Yeah, definitely want to stay away from windows. I think it's certainly a good idea to get your basement, get away from those windows, put as many walls between you and that storm outside. That's a tornado-warned storm that continues to make its way from west to east. We also have a tornado warning up just north of that as well. So you got 2 tornado warnings making its way in just a couple of our counties, moving from west to east. This one is until 6 p.m. Can't rule out even some, maybe even some penny size or nickel size type hail. And then of course we got to be worried about that tornado warned storm that continues to make its way off to the east. This is certainly the more pronounced one from this cluster of storms as it makes its way from west to east. Tremendous amount of dynamics. Just by looking at the lightning that's going on here, we don't have an indication on those lightning strikes, but a good number is a lot, okay, as it makes its way from west to east. You know what's something kind of interesting too, Andrew, is, you know, we talked about some of the storms that took place around the early afternoon hours around Joe Daviess County. Of course, in these same counties around Dubuque, even portions of Jackson County. And I think people were kind of curious as to, hey, you know, we had these storms earlier on. Don't you think everything could have stabilized so we wouldn't have to worry about any more future storms? Well, I think the problem is that we still have a lot of this, right, Andrew? A lot of storm energy.
A lot of storm energy, and we were looking at the observations at the Quad Cities International Airport, and what did we find? 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts right out of the south. When you have that strong south wind here at the ground, that is rapidly replenishing that storm energy, that storm instability right back up into our northernmost hometowns. And until we can get rid of that wind, which will not happen until the cold front that is sitting right here over Interstate 380 from Cedar Rapids to Iowa City, until that comes through, that process is not going to shut down. So that's why we're seeing wave after wave. In fact, it may be a total of 3 waves for the northernmost hometowns at this point, because wave number 2 is coming through as we speak, and the front hasn't even arrived yet. So that strong south wind rapidly replenishing that storm energy, keeping that severe weather threat going.
Yeah, no question about that. Let's keep an eye on the other storms that are going on as well, just off to our south and west. It's not just those warnings that we see. We're also noticing some of those warnings that are now approaching some of our counties just west of the Quad Cities. And these are tornado-warned storms as well. This one now taking part in portions of Muscatine County. This is until 6 p.m. If you're watching us in Lone Tree, Riverside, West Branch, West Liberty, get to your safe place right away, because not only are we dealing with some heavy rain and some lightning, but we're dealing with a nice little twist going on. Ooh. And there is a report, I think it's been confirmed that a tornado is on the ground just north of Washington, right off of 1, looks like. And that looks really impressive on the velocity mode.
I think that's one of the strongest signatures we've seen yet today.
Yeah.
Right there. No doubt about it. Yeah, look, just north of Washington, like the report just said, crossing 1. Let's loop this, and then we'll put the track on it, because that is impressive. And because of the spin, it almost looks like we're kind of pulling this a little north.
Yeah.
So we're going to be heading into, what do you got there? Hills, eventually right near Conesville, and then into West Liberty. So let's stop it. Let's put the track on it. Go right off to the northeast here. We'll try and get it as close to the western fringe of our viewing area as possible here, including Muscatine there. And there's your time of arrival. Nichols is in there, 5:31. Lone Tree, West Liberty, and Atalissa at 5:41. That is a very impressive signature. Let's go to the rotation tracker. Yep, no doubt. It's picking up here. And we're likely going to continue to see that increase, too, as it moves off to the north and to the east. But, yeah, real big tightening up going on there just south of Kelowna and Riverside.
And going to keep in mind that it's so far away from the radar itself. The beam itself is kind of going within the middle of it. So imagine what's taking place on the surface itself.
That's also what's impressive, too, because we've had all of this stuff ahead of it, and it's really kind of buried back into the backside of the storm. So the fact that the radar is showing this much rotation, and we're scanning it kind of a little bit higher because of the distance from the radar, too, that is a very, very severe rotating thunderstorm. It's got a lot of spin to it.
Yeah, very concerning for areas that whoever is watching us in western part of Muscatine County.
Yep.
That part of that storm, that rotation is definitely heading your way. And as Andrew just mentioned, this is probably the most pronounced signature we've seen since we've been doing our coverage since early afternoon or so. So it continues to make its way off to the northeast. Watching us in Lone Tree, 5:24. We'll extend it even more, just near West Liberty at the bottom of the hour, right around 5:30. And then as we make our way to about Wilton, we're going about 5:45, which is pretty close to around Muscatine itself. If it does happen to wobble, remember, it won't stay fixed. These storms have a tendency of wobbling even when it comes to the rotation. And we're talking literally maybe, a few miles or so north or south. And this is kind of showing it a little bit more, staying away from Muscatine. I think it may just graze Muscatine just off to the north and west. Right now, the beast is located near Nichols, Iowa in Muscatine. Andrew, can we show that where Nichols is? It's a small town. I'm not sure how, and that's where Morgan, of course, is located. Isn't that located just east of Lone Tree itself, I believe?
You're right.
There it is.
Right there.
So Morgan is in the perfect location right now, okay? So she's sitting right there, and if things get a little, oh, wow, that was an impressive cloud to ground right there that she just.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, yep. Morgan, gonna give us all the details. We weren't sure if you were on the air, but let's go to Morgan right now in the beast just near Nichols, Iowa.
Yeah, we caught that really impressive cloud to
Wow.
ground lightning right there. I was happy that we got something a little bit to show you guys. But yeah, so we went to Nichols, Iowa, because I was watching that area of rotation that's been warned near Washington. And yeah, I see it. It is very impressive. So what I wanted what we are doing right now is we are actually just south of Nichols, maybe only just a couple miles south. 3 miles south of the immediate Nichols area. So we're not too far away. We just wanted to get a little farther south because I'm watching this rotation, and the smartest plan for us is to try to at least stay south and east of that area of rotation, because the general track is going to go north and east itself. So I wanted to kind of get out of Nichols just a little bit to put us more in a spot to watch this rotation. But theoretically, this area of rotation is quite literally exactly where my camera is pointed and about 12 miles away. So I would say here any minute we're going to start to see, hopefully that's what we're expecting, is to begin to see something pop up out of the skies here just in front of us.
Morgan, let me make sure again. You're south of Nichols, and are you between Nichols and Conesville, basically?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just 3 miles south of Nichols, so a little
3
closer
miles
to
south of
but
Nichols.
Yes, we were. Go.
Okay. I was going to say, Andrew, go ahead and put like a little dot or so. She might be in that little indentation there, just north of Conesville. So that is where Morgan is, and you can see in relationship to that rotation. You're right, Morgan. You are basically at due west of that circulation.
Yeah, and like I said, I just really wanted to stay at least a little, again, just try to position ourselves. This is the thing about storm chasing, is you got to make sure that you have an exit plan at all times, or at least position yourselves, because I didn't want to be at least within way of it potentially coming right at us, which again, I guess if you're listening to me and you are in the Nichols area, I would take my word and get to your safe spot right now, because we are just a couple miles south of Nichols waiting for that. And that's kind of the path that I'm expecting it to take, is at least towards the Nichols area, if not just to the north of it. So our plan right now is to wait a little bit, get a couple scans in, and watch that area of rotation. And we're potentially going right back up to Nichols to watch this thing, really chase this thing coming in.
Okay, Morgan. Yeah, thank you so much. Please be safe out there. And I can't stress, Morgan has done this so many times. She knows exactly where to be. For chasers out there like Morgan, the safest place to be is on the southeast edge of that rotation, okay? So she is very likely going to get a good view of this wall cloud and possibly even get this tornado as well that we see just south and west of Lone Tree itself. So she's going to be right there when that wall cloud makes its way just to her north and west, but that is a very safe position that she is in. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. And Andrew, they actually issued a new tornado warning where Morgan is right now.
Exactly, yeah. Now encompasses that entire stretch, and you can see it going all the way up to West Liberty. You've got another warning south there. In fact, I think we just saw the report came across the chat that the Kelowna Fire Department and Washington Fire Department are responding to reports of damage coming in from Kelowna right now. That would confirm there was definitely something going on with that part of the storm that is going right smack dab in the middle of that tornado warning. So like Morgan said, Nichols, Lone Tree absolutely need to be in your safe space right now, your basement preferably. West Liberty, this is coming right for you in your direction, right up there along Highway 6 to the west of Wilton. It is right on track to head in that direction. You're also getting a really strong surge of wind, it looks like, kind of on the southern flank of that rotation. That could be another impact here eventually, especially for Conesville and just to the north. So while you may not see or get a tornado directly, it looks like the wind kind of on the south side of that rotation has really picked up momentum.
Yeah, in fact, they're saying that this could be a life-threatening situation when it comes to this particular storm because not just quarter size and the possible rotation that we see there, but 90-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Wow.
They're saying now, 90 miles an hour wind gusts. It doesn't have to spin, folks, to cause damage. 90 miles an hour, that will cause damage, and probably reason why of that structural damage to that one building that they just mentioned just off around Kelowna, Iowa. So that's making its way off to the north and east. We can't stress this enough. We want to repeat again. Lone Tree, Conesville, West Liberty, Atalissa, Moscow. You guys are in the path of this tornado warned storm. Okay, this has some serious wind with it. It has some spin with it as well. And that's what we're seeing in the upper right-hand corner where Morgan is located. She is just between Nichols and Conesville, just north of Conesville. And she is eventually going to be right on the southeast side of that rotation that is going on. She'll likely be getting a good rush of wind from that, as we can see from the velocity mode, real bright blue that we see on 218. That is definitely heading in her general direction, but the rotation is just north of that, just north of that. So you're probably what you're seeing right there, folks, on your camera from the beast, from our storm chasing vehicle, could very likely be the wall cloud that we see from that storm, Andrew.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see is eventually the lowering as it gets a little bit closer to where Morgan is at right now. Again, she's, like you said, in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
She is going to be just to the southeast of that as the rotation moves overhead. And it looks like the rotation may be broadening up a little bit, but that's what these do. These storms cycle back and forth. They tighten up the rotation, then they get broader and they spread it out. Then they tighten up again, they cycle back and forth. This area has not seen much, if any, storm activity so far today. So this thing, wide open access to all of the storm energy in front of it. You can see just a little bit of light rain out ahead, but not much. Still plenty for it to work with, and still plenty of twisting motion going on. And you can see it in the radar presentation here too, the surging of the winds, kind of what we talked about on the south side of that storm. I'm going to peel away a couple of layers so you can see what I'm talking about. See this kind of bending here, indicating some very strong winds lifting northward from the south. And then where those strong winds meet what we call the inflow of the storm, or where winds are twisting and turning more to the northwest from the southeast, that's where you're going to get your rotation. And it lines up perfectly with the report that we just got out of Kelowna about some damage. So that would have crossed 218. It would now just be to the south of Hills, and we would follow this right into Lone Tree and eventually right into Nichols. If you're not going to see the tornado threat, you are absolutely going to see the damaging wind threat. Strongest winds are on 218 right now, heading almost due east. So Conesville will be getting a very strong rush of wind here shortly, along with Lone Tree. And then we're talking about that rotation continuing along 22, County Road 22, and eventually getting into Nichols and perhaps just south of West Liberty. So this is a very dangerous storm. Again, the possibility exists for some very strong winds, 70+ miles an hour. Radar presentation is extremely impressive. Nice inflow into the storm right here, bringing in the storm energy and continuing to spin up this rotation. And we can definitely see that cloud, the wall cloud we've been talking about on Morgan's live shot there from the beast.
Yeah, no question about that. Oh, it looks really impressive where she is right now. My goodness. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. She's going to hang out there for maybe just a little bit longer, but you can see the lightning behind it. And keep in mind, there is some just blinding rain that's coming down with it as well, including some hail. But there is a tremendous amount of dynamics going on, a lot of convection going on with this particular part of the storm. Still a tremendous amount of energy to work with as the storm continues to make its way from west to east. And you can see the arrow on the velocity mode. That is where Morgan is in the beast right now, okay? That's where she's located. She's in a perfect position to get a good, but more importantly, safe view of this part of the storm that's going to be tracking just to her north and west. She very likely could be impacted by some of that wind that's going to be rushing down from that part of the storm itself. But I think the strongest of those winds is going to be just to her north and west. This is really, the most pronounced signature we've seen really so far today, especially since early this afternoon as we started our coverage. And this is just one of several storms that are going on just to our north and west. Numerous warnings going on. In fact, with that particular storm we just showed you, that has maybe a tendency of maybe producing winds around 90 miles an hour. So we have even a severe thunderstorm warning out for a good chunk of Muscatine County due to the possibility of seeing some of those winds in excess of 90 miles an hour. Plenty more warnings that we see even south of that as we make our way into parts of Louisa County, just north and west of Wapello, with that severe thunderstorm warning. There's another tornado warning until about 5:30. Looking at the clock, That's another 8 more minutes or so, mainly because that storm is just to the east now of that polygon. And those warnings continue even as far south, going into Henry County, Iowa. That may have a possibility of producing even a brief spin up as well. And we got plenty more of those warnings even farther north. That severe thunderstorm warning for Henry County, Iowa, that goes until maybe another 8 more minutes or so. Going back to the picture once again out of just west of Muscatine itself, that is a very good wall cloud that I think we see just off to the right. Or what would you say there, Andrew?
Yep, I would say right to the right there on the right-hand side. That's where you got your wall cloud. We're still getting some really broad rotation. Hasn't tightened up again yet at this moment, but you can see that strong surge of wind likely behind that rain curtain that Morgan will likely experience here in just a matter of minutes, likely 5 minutes from now, based on her location where she's at just south of Nichols. She's going to see that very strong rush of wind. In terms of hail potential with this, there's a little bit, but the probability is not overly high. So it looks like we may be avoiding a significant hail threat, but that wind, I guarantee, is going to get impressive here really shortly. Now she's panning over a little bit further to the right. There you can see part of the wall cloud there, what we call the rain-free base of the wall cloud. Notice how it's lighter in color on the right-hand side, and then it gets darker in color on the left-hand side. There we go. She's actually zooming in to that feature right now. So if a tornado were to form with the circulation, that's where it would be, where you see the, ooh, great shot. That's where the tornado would be. It would be right there within that rain-free base, where it goes light, no rain, to really dark on the left-hand side of your screen where the rain is falling quite heavily.
That is really, really impressive. Now, once again, anyone in the booth, if we have connection again with Morgan, well, let's go to her as many times as we can, because things are really fast moving right here. They're changing constantly. What we're seeing with this storm as it makes its way just near her location, just south, about 3 miles south of Nichols, just north of Conesville itself. And that's a very dangerous storm given what we saw on the velocity mode. So just give me a ring in our ears to see if Morgan has anything extra to say, but certainly seeing some impressive video from her. This is all live coming from the Beast, our storm chasing vehicle just south of Nichols. Really impressive on the winds too that we're seeing up to our north, Andrew. I just caught that. And that's a really impressive line of some, looks like straight line winds just off of 61 there west of Andrew and Maquoketa.
Yeah, straight line winds getting ready to rush into Andrew, Otter Creek, Maquoketa in a matter of minutes. This will be crossing 61. The potential, as the National Weather Service said earlier, 80+ miles an hour. This is warned at this time.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, go ahead, Morgan.
Yeah, go ahead, Morgan.
I was just gonna chime in to say that that rush of wind has now arrived. It has completely arrived. And exactly, that's where I was looking. I've been listening to you guys, so I wanted to zoom in on those features that we were watching where we would see a tornado. But now we're just seeing all those straight line winds push into the area. I mean, you can see we're on a dirt road. We're just off of a main road, but all the dust is now flying at the car. It's lots of rain and lots of wind.
Yeah, you're probably on that, of course, south side of that rotation, certainly that's going on, but the wind's coming down from it, yeah, that's more of a straight line, and this is that part of the storm that we're concerned about, getting a rush of wind from over 50, 60, even 70 miles an hour, and this can happen very suddenly, and after that, winds kind of die off. In some cases, right after it kind of blows on through. But no question, you're definitely dealing with some of that blinding rain that is slowly increasing where you are actually located.
Yeah, and I've been trying to look over my right shoulder. I was looking at that area that Andrew was talking about where you see that rain-free base, and that's where you would see the best area of rotation for a tornado to form. And I'm trying to look at any of these trees out in the distance. I don't see anything kind of moving out of place. It just looks like this is a ton of straight line winds that is coming to our location as of right now. But I think we're likely gonna wait out at least this rush of wind and then decide where we're gonna go next, or maybe at least follow behind some of these storms here.
All right, Morgan, great job out there, and once again, be safe and give us an update too as far as your next move after this event that we're seeing right here. Very good. Let's go right back to that radar again, Andrew, because things are getting a little closer, and even closer to the areas along and east of the river, especially around the immediate Quad Cities.
Yeah, we're now popping up multiple new severe thunderstorm warnings that are going right to the Mississippi River on the Iowa side, so we can poke around at a couple of those really quickly. You can see they all have these moving lines through them, indicating that you could see some significant wind. Those new warnings now take us all the way through Minneapolis, right into Burlington, Fort Madison. I'm going to poke around on the expiration time here and see what we've got. So that'll go until 6:30. Wapello, Minneapolis, all the way down to Burlington, Fort Madison. That will go until 6:30. We also have new warnings that have popped up too west of Muscatine, a severe thunderstorm warning there for likely some very strong winds. In fact, this warning right here, 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail.
Wow.
With that warning, that includes Muscatine. When you're talking 90-mile-per-hour winds, I think we need to start moving to another level of the home. I think if you have a basement, that is absolutely the place to go. Do not go anywhere near windows with that. I'm going to go back to this one to the south. So the one to the south of that, 70-mile-an-hour winds, Wapello, Minneapolis, Burlington, Fort Madison. The one to the north here, that's got Muscatine, West Liberty, Durant, Columbus Junction, south of Tipton, 90-mile-per-hour winds. That is absolutely a dangerous storm there. Still to the north, too, don't forget we're also tracking those two tornado warnings. Those will go for about another 30 minutes or so. The wind, which we were just looking at there before we caught back up with Morgan and her wind situation there, it's continuing to remain really strong. Plowing into Andrew, plowing into Maquoketa. Bellevue's up next, and then it's going to cross right back into Dojaves County for yet another round of severe weather today.
Let's put a little bit of a loop on that, maybe a 30-minute hour loop. There we go. And then let's go ahead and put a tracker on that as well. And that still looks like it's kind of moving just due east, would you say, Andrew? And then moving around, what, 50, 55 miles an hour? And boom, there we go. This is what we can do, folks. We can certainly give a good estimate as to the timing of this. All we have to do is program the computer as far as the speed of these storms, and then we can get a good idea as far as the timing when it comes to certain areas. Like, for example, we mentioned about Maquoketa. It's just outside of town. Bellevue, Elizabeth. Here you go again. With that storm. This is going to be now more of a wind-producing thunderstorm than the tornadic stuff that you just had earlier on this afternoon. Woodbine, we had a brief report of a possible maybe brief touchdown outside of Woodbine. And let's not even forget Savannah. You're on the southern tip of that line of very strong winds. That holds together. We're talking about maybe less than 45 minutes for you. What is the view that we are seeing with the camera here? Where is this coming from?
Is this our Muscatine camera, I'm wondering? Yep, that is for Muscatine. I can see it in the banner. Yep.
Okay. And that is likely looking off toward the west, I believe, of that storm. And, you know, it's interesting when you see that compared to where that Boeing is. Now it's becoming even like more of a Boeing than anything.
Yeah, this is now transitioning into a very damaging wind event. Again, warning said 90 miles per hour for that warning that includes Muscatine. So our crew there in Muscatine, I think, did we have Jonas in Muscatine today, I believe? Yeah.
Jonas is in Muscatine? All
Jonas is there, so they're going to have to hunker down here shortly, especially with that warning calling for 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's impressive.
Yeah, West Liberty, Wilton. You're watching us in Wilton. My goodness, that part of that storm is heading right in your direction. And you can see that Morgan in the Beast is on the move once again. I think she is continuing to move west. You can actually see the trees really blowing big time in the background there.
Definitely some strong winds.
They were shaking just a second ago there. But I think she's moving more west.
Hey, guys, if you can hear me, I know we are going to be in a very spotty location here for a little bit. Might have some interruptions with service. I just wanted to chime in and say that I was just waiting for that initial line. I mean, we are very much still within these winds, but not too concerned about the integrity of the beast, at least. So what I'm trying to do is see if we can get up to Wilton, which is where we were originally at. Maybe see if we can get ahead of this line a little bit more as it gets closer to the metro, and maybe even continue on into the metro as it's starting to push into the immediate Quad Cities as well. But as you can see, I mean, it's nothing but rain. It's nothing but wind right now, and I'm watching that area very closely. But yes, definitely a very broad area, but a good gust of wind, that is for sure.
And you're moving, you say you're moving now north toward Wilton.
Yes, that's our target right now, to just try to get back to the Wilton area, see if we can get, because these storms aren't moving as fast, but I don't know if we'll be able to stay ahead of it. But that's the goal, is to see if we can get maybe a little bit just ahead of these storms and then get back into the metro area, and we can help track that as it gets closer to the immediate Quad Cities.
All right, very good, Morgan. And yeah, interrupt us anytime, please. If you see anything, please interrupt us so we can go right back, because you know, we need those eyes out there, especially when it comes to this part of the storm. That looks really, really impressive on the velocity mode. I mean, this looks like some serious wind that is just to your north, and it is really not breaking down at all. It is continuing to make its way toward the east-northeast. West Liberty certainly could be impacted by that. And as we mentioned, even around Wilton is definitely in the target, in the bullseye of seeing those strong winds. Let's go ahead and go with Jonas. He's actually in Muscatine County. Jonas, can you hear me? If you can, what part of Muscatine County are you at right now? Okay, unfortunately, we're not getting any audio from Jonas. We'll get to that in just a little bit. If anyone in the booth can relay a message to him regarding his audio, that would be great. And then eventually, just let me know what that audio is back on, and then we'll go right to him, because I tell you, that shot behind him looks really impressive. It looks very dark. Oh, Jonas, can you hear us now? Go ahead.
I can. Can you hear me, James?
Yes, sir. What do you see? I mean, we're seeing some pretty ominous clouds behind you, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's gotten significantly darker in just the last few minutes. We are on the southwest side of Muscatine, just outside of town by the airport, and just I'd say about 20, 30 minutes ago, it was not like this at all. We've been hit with some significant gusts of wind, but the rain has been pretty sparse throughout. But yeah, as you can see, the clouds have gotten significantly darker, and we're probably gonna have some pretty severe weather coming in here in the next few minutes. But that's what we've got right now. We're just gonna be looking west, just like you guys, tracking those really dark clouds. And as you can see, a lot of lightning striking in the back there as well. We'll keep you posted, James.
All right, Jonas, very good. Be careful out there, and yeah, stay safe. There's a lot of lightning with this system just outside of your location, so be extra careful about that. But this wind is a real concern that we see, and they're still noticing, with the help of our friends at the National Weather Service, and you're still noticing some of that circulation, but that wind is something to be concerned about, mainly for hometowns east of that.
Yeah, the circulation they're mentioning right up here near West Liberty. What we have is some very strong winds to the south of the storm. What we've been waiting for are winds to ramp up on the northern edge of the storm, kind of feeding into it. We haven't seen that happen yet, but I'm noticing a little bit more stronger inflow coming in here out to the head. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is the area right here that we're watching for some strengthening of the winds. Right now, the winds are certainly stronger on the southern side than the northern side. But if that northern side can catch up, we are going to likely see some circulation kind of tighten up here, especially as it gets ready to move into Atalissa. And then after that, it'll head into Moscow. But that wind field, that big, large area of damaging winds that's in Nichols right now, that is still surging forward, and very quickly surging forward too. Again, the National Weather Service advising wind speeds could reach up to 90 miles an hour. That is very impressive.
And you can see, I mean, just by the loop itself, it's really getting even more pronounced just south of that circulation. My goodness, and it looks like it does have now some eyes for the town of Muscatine itself.
Yeah, I'm going to throw the tracker back on this. Going to give it one more loop.
Yeah.
We'll go along the leading edge of the line here, all the way down to Let's, and let's go forward and maybe even get it into just the immediate west of the Quad Cities. And there's your time of arrival. So you've got the Muscatine Municipal Airport in there. Muscatine itself, 547. Again, with this being warned for 90-mile-per-hour winds, this is one of those things. In fact, now it's down to 80, but still that's very strong. 80-mile-per-hour winds now what this is warned for. That is still, I think, a big enough of a threat. If you have a basement, get into the basement. That is some very strong winds. And if there are any loose objects around your home, your location where you're sheltering, that could mean some trouble, especially blowing out some windows potentially. A lot of wind with that. There you see also Midway Beach Airport's in there too. And this thing seems to be picking up some forward speed as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That is so impressive. And as you mentioned, it's getting closer and closer to the immediate Quad Cities itself. In fact, let's wind that picture. Let's just say if that storm just kind of holds together, it wants to nudge just a little bit more to the north than east, just a little bit. So we go ahead and stretch that out even more. The timing is going to be just about what we were talking about all day. All right, this is really timing out just right for the immediate Quad Cities. We've been talking maybe right around 5:30, 6 o'clock or so. It's picking up a little bit of that speed, maybe about 55 miles an hour. So, definitely if you're watching us in Davenport, going near DeWitt, Eldridge, I think that's certainly a storm you're going to have to really be concerned about. When you're dealing with that strong of a wind, you have the likelihood of producing some power outages, okay? So here's what we got. There's a tracker. And if it holds together, it may graze the Quad Cities right around 626. Okay, so that's about less than 50 minutes from now or so. Muscatine, it's basically just under 10 minutes for you. Okay, Andalusia, 616. All right, so that's what we have to be watching when it comes to this particular storm. It's more of a damaging wind producing storm than anything, not just the heavy rain and lightning that's coming in with it. So that's what we're really worried about. Still, I have that tornado warrant out for that. We're likely going to see this, at least a severe thunderstorm warning, likely extend into the immediate Quad Cities itself. So that's going to be something else once we get an idea. And of course, the polygons are all created by our friends at the National Weather Service. But it's safe to say that, a good chunk of Rock Island, definitely Scott County, and even portions of Clinton County, you guys are going to get a new warning here, I would say, in just a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. And given how strong those winds have been forecasted, we're going to even hear the sirens. And it's, of course, there's always a challenge then to what the sirens mean. Is it just tornadoes? Is it just high winds? Well, let's put it this way. You're going to hear sirens because the fact that this storm has been can produce damaging winds, okay, whether it's spinning or straight line. So that's where you could eventually hear sirens even here in the immediate Quad Cities itself.
Yeah, and of course, don't wait for the outdoor sirens. Those are meant for folks that are outside. If you're under the warning, it's time to move.
Correct.
We're not going to be listening for those sirens. But yeah, I agree with James. I think the next suite of warnings will continue that high impact wording, likely saying 70+ mile per hour winds. That will likely trigger the storm sirens here in the Metro Quad Cities. And if we see another warning with 80 mile per hour winds or greater, still the same advice. I would say lowest level of your home, especially because you don't know what flying objects are going to do. We also still have the potential for a very brief spin-up tornado within this line at any moment. We've been watching these things kind of cycle back and forth. Though the rotation side of things, especially with that storm that's now east of West Liberty, it's not getting nearly as tight in terms of the rotation that we're looking for. It's still very broad. We haven't seen that strengthen up yet.
They believe that there's going to be some re-strengthening here, and they're going to be issuing a new tornado warning. They're working on it right now, actually.
All right, so new rotation near West Liberty. And so, yeah, that would put us downstream. Where's the warning right now? Let's throw the warning as it is there. So the new warning is likely going to take this into Wilton, Tipton, Wheatland, probably DeWitt, and may just touch into Eldridge as well. So heads up, we're going to get that likely any moment here, and we'll be able to plot that for you. So again, sounds like another warning is coming, another tornado warning, because the one that we have on the screen right here, once I click on it, you can see that it expires in just a little bit over 18 minutes. So we'll watch that.
And
Shelby?
Andrew, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. I just want to make a quick note here for our viewers in northern Illinois, especially over in Stevenson County. We know that you had that tornado or that tornado storm blow through there, and we are hearing from the Illinois Emergency Management Agency there is tornado damage confirmed in Lena, Illinois, which is in Stevenson County. The Stevenson County Sheriff's Office has posted online to please stay away from Lena right now. There's no way to access the town. Power lines are down, trees are down. We can see from live cameras in Lena right now. Those cameras, by the way, are tilted on their side because they've been assumably shaken around by some wind. Right there, you can see, if you look very closely, we can see lots of downed trees. We can see flashing lights from first responders all over the area. So in Stevenson County, please avoid the Lena area. There is no way to access town, and all the roads that are open need to be accessed by first responders right now. And again, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency confirming tornado damage in Lena in Stevenson County.
Yeah, a lot of emergency vehicles out there you can see.
Oh, yeah. See the flashing lights there in the distance, center screen.
Everywhere you look over here, yeah.
And they could be under the gun again with that next round located just to the west, unfortunately for them. That's why we're seeing some of those darkening skies just out to the west. Great job, guys, on that for getting that shot.
Well,
that is
look,
impressive.
this shot right here, 20 minutes ago, this was not tilted to its side. This was, or I should say closer to an hour ago, this was straight up and down looking out at the town. So you can, that alone is some of the damage that we're seeing from that camera.
I did not realize that. That's very true. My goodness. I thought that was just the basic angle of the shot, but you're right. Oh, my goodness. And what's really impressive, too, is, you know, I'm just looking down at one house on the right-hand side. There's actually some, looks like leftover debris or whatever, you know, from that, from some of the wind that took place. Just to that building just to the south of that, left of the railroad tracks, left of those railroad tracks, and this house right, go down a little bit more, a little bit north. Now go west of the railroad tracks, left of that building right there, just to the right. You can see where that car is, those cars on the right. Yep, those right there. Oh. And then go to the right of that. There's some, looks like debris right there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That wasn't there before. So that's kind of interesting to see that.
And you know what else is, we were watching power outages in that area, northwestern Illinois. We are seeing thousands of customers without power right now. At one point, it was upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 people without power from ComEd. And then you go down further south, down by St. Louis, Quincy, Mount Sterling, Illinois. That's another 6,500 Ameren customers that are without power. So on both opposite extreme ends of our viewing area, we're seeing a lot of outages.
Oh my goodness, what are we seeing here? And I think this is coming from Jonas out in Muscatine.
Yeah, it must be from Jonas at Muscatine there. Looks like he's maybe repositioning.
Yep, I think they're getting impacted big time right now from that particular storm. This is a new tornado warning that we have here, Andrew. Why don't you give me the details on that? Give me one of the details.
There's the new tornado warning. This is for radar indicated tornado possibility here. It goes until 6:45. DeWitt, Eldridge, Long Grove, Parkview. This is a continuation of that circulation that Morgan was tracking just moments ago near Nichols, now moving its way off to the north and to the east. And not only do we have the circulation that we're still tracking, but we also have this huge surge of wind from West Liberty all the way down to Muscatine. In fact, that was Jonas that we just checked in with at Muscatine there. He's likely repositioning himself right now because that surge of wind is now entering Muscatine proper. If I remember correctly, he said he was just west of town. And now you can see that's confirmed. You see the rain now blowing sideways at his location as that surge of wind is coming through. So he's likely taking shelter kind of at a safer spot, I would assume at this point, especially given the fact that that warning said 80-mile-per-hour winds was possible. But I can see why the tornado warning was extended to the northeast. We're starting to see the circulation show signs of tightening up again. We're recycling, getting that swirl to become a little bit better defined. And that swirl is just to the southeast of Rochester. So Interstate 80, Rochester to the north, you've got Wilton to the south. That rotation right now is hugging Interstate 80, and it's moving just about due east here. So there's the rotation. Here's I-80. There's Wilton, there's Rochester, there's your rotation. That would take it right along 80, right into Walcott, by the way, if it can keep an eastward trajectory. So that's a little concerning. You got the I-80 truck stop there. Likely
Right.
a lot of folks probably trying to seek shelter now that it's under a warning with this activity coming off to the east now.
Andrew, let's go ahead and put the reflectivity on, and more. You can do reflectivity or wind velocity here. We got a new tornado warning out until 6:30 p.m.
Oh, there
and
it
it's
is.
right there going across the river into Mercer County. We're going to get the details on this right now in just a little bit with Andrew. But it's a storm that is moving quickly northeast at 55 miles an hour, and there is radar indicated there is rotation going on. This just started to occur just 2 minutes ago. Just started to see this rotation take place now just west of Minneapolis. That looks very impressive there, Andrew.
It's another one that is tightening up again. It looks kind of wide right now.
Yep.
And I'm kind of curious, to put a loop on this so you can see too where this is going.
Boy,
it's increasing.
Yeah, quickly, very quickly, absolutely. And making his way northeast. Let's put a tracker on this if we can. And yeah, that's definitely making his way off to the north and east there. We're going to get a tracker on this, but no question, Minneapolis, Aledo, definitely you are in the path of this. You're likely hearing the sirens going off in your hometown. So you definitely want to get to your safe place right away. Get away from those windows. You don't need to be around the windows and check it out. All right, very dangerous situation that we're seeing here with that storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. New Boston, we're talking about 612 for you. Remember, the storm's moving around 55 miles an hour. I'm just looking at the clock. So just around 20 minutes or so for you guys. Joy in about 40 minutes. And Aledo, bottom of the hour at 6:30 or so. You'll expect to see that possible part of the rotation making its way from southwest to northeast. Now, of course, what we're seeing on our rotation tracker doesn't look that impressive. But sometimes, when we go from one element to another, doesn't mean that they all coincide. I mean, usually what wins out in these situations is mostly when it comes to our velocity mode. Sometimes we have to even go to our reflectivity mode to actually find out where these notches are, or even these couplets. But this is kind of a little different compared to when we did the severe weather coverage on Wednesday, when we had all these notches going on. Well, in this case, we're definitely dealing with this velocity mode here, where we actually are seeing the winds going one way, going away from the radar site, and the winds going toward. So if we go ahead and put a tracker on this is really good. If it holds together, this storm is only 30 miles away from Aledo itself. 623. Given the speed now of the storm, I think it's hauling faster than 55 miles an hour, given what we're seeing here on the radar. Quad City is located right here, okay? So we may be seeing this storm maybe just scoot just south and east of the Quad Cities itself. We'll see how that all turns out. What we're concerned for the parts of the Quad Cities is that storm right there that has some serious wind, and likely even seeing maybe some spinning that may possibly still is holding together, possibly just south of the Tipton area, right there on Interstate 80 as it makes its way off to the northeast. Not too concerned, as you can see, when it comes to the hail itself. As you can see, some kind of low responses here, low echoes getting in here regarding some of the hail, maybe some pea-sized hail we could be getting out of this. But other than that, it's more about the wind, the heavy rain, some of the lightning that's going on. We could very likely be talking about some power outages, brief power outages, just because of all the lightning and wind that we're getting all out of this. So this is one of the warnings that has now made its way across the river itself, and we'll likely see these storms here make their way across the river and be warned as well, okay? The question is, will these have anything tornadic with it? I think this may be more of a severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be stretching his way off toward the east. I know Justin Carmone, one of our other chasers, has been out there and about. I think he was going to be heading to Bennett, Iowa. I think he was talking about going to Bennett. So when he sees something, we'll certainly even go to Justin on that and see what he's noticing. He's in a good location as well. Bennett is just east of that line of storms that we see making his way right through Muscatine County itself.
Yeah, he's right close to that rotation. If he was heading for Bennett, actually wasn't that far away. It's actually just to the north. Bennett is where we have that warning for the rotation itself. And like you said, these storms are inching closer and closer to the Quad Cities. It will be interesting to see what these storms coming up from Macomb they're moving due north, while the stuff to the west is moving due east. So we're going to get some storm interaction here really quickly. And sometimes that can decrease storm intensity, but there are some cases where these things collide and they do a quick little dance and they kind of go around and can even enhance some rotation at times. So you can see there's a warning there for southern Knox County. That is likely going to be probably for wind and hail. We'll throw that up really quick because that wasn't that long ago that came out. 6:15, that's for 60-mile-per-hour winds and large hail. So that's more of a hail risk going into southern Knox County. In fact, southeast Knox County, my goodness. That's a sizable signature there. Looks like some golf ball size hail east of London Mills. McQuan, you would be next up for this because, again, these are heading due north almost. And you can see Fairview likely saw some sizable hail from this earlier. But, yeah, those storm interactions can get a little tricky, especially because these are moving in a completely different direction than everything else to the west. You're going to have to watch that interaction.
We have a severe thunderstorm warning out now for the immediate Quad Cities.
There it is, yep.
And there it is. We're going to get a breakdown of that, and Andrew's going to get that up. Basically, we're dealing with 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and Andrew, let's explain to everyone why we see these lines that pop up within these polygons that we see here.
Yeah, so when you see the lines, that means the winds are very, very strong. We're talking about the possibility of some considerable damage. It does not take a tornado alone to cause damage with this kind of setup. Those straight line winds, they can cause significant roof damage. They can peel off weaker roofs. They can also blow down weakened structures like outbuildings, also weaker homes as well. If you live in a mobile home, definitely not safe even with 70-mile-per-hour winds. So that's the National Weather Service telling us this storm is posing a very considerable threat right now, and that does include the Quad Cities.
Well ahead of the storm. You know how fast the storm is moving?
How fast we got on that?
It's now 70 miles an hour.
So it is really, really increased. My goodness.
That is something. And that's not including the winds that may be coming down from the storm itself. And that's why we're seeing these kind of bright echoes located just around Muscatine itself, okay? That brightness is just indicating where the leading edge of that damaging wind gust could potentially be. Now, we did get a report out of Muscatine that they had a wind gust around 50 miles an hour, possibly close to 60 miles an hour around Wilton itself, okay? But what we're seeing here, and just by what we're noticing on the radar, not only have we noticed that the wind speeds have, the speed of this storm is moving as fast as 70 miles an hour, but I think the winds in some local areas along this line, and very minute, could very likely be even stronger than 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, we've had wording at time, especially when this was well west of Muscatine, of 80+ miles per hour. And now that we're getting a little bit closer to the evening, there's a couple more jet dynamics that are going to come into play here, especially in the next hour or two, that could very well ramp up that damaging wind threat as we get this low-level jet involved. As the cold front comes in, could actually enhance those winds a little bit more. But you can see there, it's right on track to enter the Quad Cities after we get to the 6 o'clock hour, and that is going to bring some very strong winds into our region. Right now, they're in Muscatine. Still a possibility that we could see a quick spin-up tornado with this as well. It does look like the circulation has really broadened out near Wilton. Southwest of New Liberty, still under a tornado warning, though, for that area, including right on through Wheatland, DeWitt, and Eldridge. So we could see that recycle again. We've had that happen a few times. You also still have a very strong surge of wind ongoing here into eastern Jackson County. Preston's in the line of that. It's going to be heading for Savannah shortly, and eventually getting into Carroll County as well. So lots of wind to track, and these quick spin-up tornadoes also coming in.
Let's see here. We also want to make sure that everyone is aware about those storms that we see toward north. Yes, just the wind. We got maybe.
James, your mic is not working right now.
My mic is not working. Okay, hang on. I will get it up here. Andrew, go ahead.
Oh, it looks like Andrew's mic is also being replaced right now. Oh, there you go, James.
Well, since Shelby, we've got you. Have you heard any more reports about any of the power outages that may be going on in your location?
You know, we've actually seen a lot of the power outages in our region start to go down a little bit. We're not sure if that'll pick back up again now that this line is starting to move through, but Mid-American on the Illinois side of the Quad Cities has dropped from around 1,200 customers to about 850 customers. But like we said, we're just kind of watching and waiting to see what will happen once this line starts to move through. We're not really seeing a lot of outages, too many outages, I should say, with our Ameren customers and our Alliant Energy customers, but that could change. We've seen thousands of people be without power so far yet tonight. And this is a live look down at Muscatine at the riverfront.
Very heavy rain looks like falling there. Some gusty winds likely too.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we're just minutes away from this storm to impact the Quad Cities itself. And I believe iHeart, Mark Manuel, has gave us some information that we're going to be going into their coverage as well, I believe. And do you want to give details on that?
Yeah, it looks as soon as the storms start approaching Interstate 280 here from the west, which is likely in the next probably 10, 15 minutes, our live stream, our live coverage here and on the A+ app will then simulcast and provide the same coverage to the iHeart Media radio stations here in the Quad Cities.
Yep.
Mix 96, you got WOCAM, KISS FM. I believe it's also going to be on WLLR.
Yep.
And is it Big 106.5?
You got them all.
Oh my gosh.
You got them all.
My memory's
very
working this
good.
week. Yeah, so all of those, and that's critical because this is evening commute time right now. A lot of people on the roads. So if you need to hit the road for whatever reason, you can continue our coverage in the car.
That's right. And what's going to happen is that coverage from iHeart will start once that line makes its way toward Interstate 280, just west of Interstate 280.
West of 280.
So we're probably a minute or two away from that coverage taking over on iHeart. And once again, want to thank iHeart, our partnership with them. We want to make sure that everyone is aware of the severe weather that is getting ready to enter the immediate Quad Cities. If you're not near your TV set, if you're can't find that phone. I have a tendency of doing that, can't find my phone. It's always good to have that radio signal ready on those stations and hearing that complete coverage, severe weather coverage, especially that's impacting the Quad Cities. I'm a little bit shocked on the hail picture that we're seeing here. Guys, why don't you explain what we're seeing here, besides the fact that they look like golf ball size hail?
Yeah, they do. This is from a viewer named Bert. This is hail in Alena, like we were just talking about a little while ago, as you can see. Some pretty big chunks there. And then we also have a picture from Ryan Crane out of Galesburg of the clouds coming in over the water tower there, you can see.
And Harrison, I'm not sure, do you have time? Do you have that live stream from Lena, Illinois still pulled back up?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we're gonna play this for you guys. This is not live, what we are playing right now. This is what it looked like a little over an hour ago from Lena, Illinois. This is that rain-wrapped tornado as it hit the town of Lena. Illinois Emergency Management Agency has confirmed there is tornado damage on the ground in Lena. They're asking everyone to avoid the area, but this is what it looked like. This is not live. Little over an hour ago as that rain-wrapped tornado headed right toward Lena, and as it passed over, it continued on going straight over toward Rockford as well.
That's some crazy video there, absolutely.
This is that camera we were looking at earlier that was tilted over onto its side. This is what it looked like normally as the tornado was coming in.
There's another live camera too, if our folks in the booth can check email.
Yep, Harrison, I just sent it to you.
Camera, yeah. You can see the damage if you look in the left-hand corner of the screen. This is what James was talking about when we were looking at that tilted camera earlier that got tilted by the wind. There was another view that you can see here, the east camera, and there you see the damage if you look on the left-hand side of your screen.
Yep, that's the one they got up
There
right
it
now.
is, yep. Looks like,
wow, yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit of damage actually. May have even impacted some vehicles.
Yeah, you can see like what looks like siding or roofing on the ground there by those cars over on the left side of the screen.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of damage, it looks like. Kind of hard to see because it's a little dark, but yeah, all the way to the left-hand side of the screen is where you can see that damage.
We've been trying to keep an eye on a lot of our local county sheriff's office to see if anybody's been posting about road closures. We haven't seen anything in our News 8 viewing area just yet, but we'll keep you updated. I do think we have Jonas live for us right now.
Perfect. Jonas, can you hear us?
If you can I can. Can you guys hear me?
There we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I mean, the wind, we are probably getting to the weaker part of the wind here now. At one point, the gusts were just tremendous. We had to go inside to kind of protect ourselves. It's gotten a little bit lighter here, but I would say if you are in the Muscatine area, I would advise you to get inside. It is still not safe out here right now. So we're just keeping track of that wind right now, but we're still getting lightning. We are still getting rain. It's very intense out here right now.
Yeah, you're lucky picking up the winds on the back side of the storm, which in some cases can be even as strong as the ones on the front side of the storm. Our radar, our velocity still has some very light shades of blue and green indicating those strong winds. And James, it looks like the wind has intensified even more just to the west of Walcott. Not seeing as much circulation, but that blue has gotten brighter and brighter and brighter.
Almost like another color trying to be enhanced on that as well. You know, I got a note from Justin Cardamone on our other chaser, and you know, I haven't heard anything back from him, but he wrote 90-mile-an-hour gust just now, and then he went off. And he was heading around the Walcott area itself. So I wonder if he's encountering those winds as we speak, but he has an anemometer that measures wind speed, and he has it on top of his car.
Yep.
And he reported it at 90 miles an hour on his car, but I wrote him a note about 5 minutes ago, and I have not. Usually he's pretty good at getting back to me, so we'll see if you know, everything is okay. I'll keep reminding him, just make sure everything's okay on his side. But a 90-mile-an-hour wind gust that was located just around the Walcott area.
I'd believe it. You know, you look at that signature, it's bending forward. It has all the characteristics of some very strong straight line winds. And like you said, it's picked up speed. It's moving forward at about 70 miles an hour. So what we're going to do is we'll zoom back out. We still have very strong winds, by the way, down to the Muscatine corridor. Still ongoing, as Jonas just showed us minutes ago, even on the backside of this system. But the strongest winds right now are getting ready to surge through Scott County. So Walcott, right through Bluegrass. In fact, this is going to nail the radar site head on at the Davenport Airport there in Mount Joy. So should get a really good sampling of the winds there. And what we'll do is we pull that out. So let's go ahead, put the track on it here. Again, the tornado potential, I don't see any embedded circulations at least right now, but that could certainly change as this thing is heading to the east. Going to keep this mainly on the north side, keep it away from the Illinois Quad Cities because it looks like that's where most of the wind will be. But still, even here in the metro, we could see those winds quickly increase just before the bottom of the hour. Donahue 613, Bettendorf 625, Pleasant Valley's in there as well. And yeah, it looks like it's going to go right over top of the radar site and right through the office at the National Weather Service there. Eldridge would be included in this too. So right now, technically, it's riding Interstate 80. That would take it right into Eldridge, right into the immediate Quad Cities, and then eventually into Hampton, and perhaps expanding it up into Cordova, Kelowna, and if it can hold together, get over to the Illinois side and ride Interstate 88 near Erie.
And while you have a second, Andrew, I want to point out the Carbon Cliff Barstow Fire District is posting that their sirens are not working right now. If you live around the Carbon Cliff area, you might not be hearing sirens. It is not on purpose. They are asking everyone to stay tuned to local meteorologists to figure out what's happening.
All right, hey, Shelby, thank you so much. Hang on, there we go. I had to just put a brief mute on that. I want to go also to the storm that's located in Knox County, if we can, please. There we go. We are not forgetting our friends in Knox County, all right? Just want to point that out. We got a cluster of storms. And Andrew, you were kind of talking about, you know, this storm is actually moving due north, where the line out to the west is moving due east. And this one in particular not only has some wind, but yet that forest green color, you don't even hit it. It's golf ball size hail.
It is golf ball size hail, yep, being teed up northeast of McQuon. And again, yeah, these, like James said, these storms are heading due north. They are way out ahead of the main line. They're taking advantage of that strong south wind that we've had all afternoon long. So let's put the tracker on that. Now, eventually it'll catch up to the line to the west, but as of right now, it's still heading due north. So you've got Galva in there. And this hail core has been very persistent here for the last 15, 20 minutes. Hasn't really waned in intensity. So Victoria, Elmore, Williamsfield, cars inside the garage if you can, or under your carport if you've got one of those. Definitely a big hail threat with that there. And we'll put the loop back on it so you can see, and then we'll also check on that severe thunderstorm warning. There's a new one
that
that's
just came out, yeah.
north. Yeah, see what the deal is with the timing on that. And let's see if it'll click.
Okay.
There we go.
San Durant.
That should give us time. And you know what? I didn't click the right thing. That's my fault. Let me try it again. That warning goes until 6:45. So that would include Knoxville, just to the east of town for Galesburg. So basically the northeast half of Knox County.
I'm going to, hey, I got some word out of, from Justin Cardamone right now. I'm going to actually give him a call. And let me see here. Let me see if I can get him on the phone here.
James, while you do that,
Yeah,
we have a photo of hail from McQuan. If we can pull that up right now.
Yes.
One of our viewers just sent it in a few minutes ago.
This is from Katie Shepard out of McQuan. You can see she managed to pick up one of those pieces of hail there. Nice little chunk.
Not quite golf ball size,
No,
but
and then we got a bunch of little hail balls here by the garage doors, it would appear. So a lot going on down there for sure.
Hey, Justin, it's me. Can you hang on for a second? Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to get, I got Justin on the line right now. Thank goodness. Let me see if I can get him on speakerphone here. All right. Hey, Justin, you know, we were getting a little worried because when you hit the report of 90 miles an hour, we didn't hear anything from you. So I'm glad we're making contact with you again. Give us the background. Where are you right now? Where did you experience those 90-mile-an-hour winds? And more importantly, what's going on now?
Well, hey, James, everybody. We are actually right off of I-80, right at the Durant exit facing westbound. Actually parked in the little cement pad area here, not far off the highway. And, James, I was listening to you guys on the app, and you guys are exactly right, James. My anemometer actually caught a 91-mile-an-hour wind gust while I was doing actually a Facebook Live through our Chase Team Midwest Skywarn Storm Trackers. And that was pretty incredible. Had the car shaking a bit. We were keeping tabs on things, had a really good rush of wind, obviously, and then some heavy rain behind it, which that has since lightened up. But I think we might be heading a little bit more towards Walcott here shortly. It looks like the storm is pushing a little bit east as far as the velocity scans go that I'm seeing. But that's what we're looking at right now. But things have lightened up, and things there's still pretty frequent lightning, but we're still keeping an eye on things.
Any type of other damage maybe that you've seen surrounding your where you are right now?
Right now, all we have around us besides the highway are cornfields, so there's really nothing of significance that way at all. I would say if there was anything, any structures involved around here, it would definitely be questionable. But right now, things are pretty even keel right now, so that's some good news.
All right, Justin, thank you so much. I'm glad that you're safe. I'm glad you were able to deal with those 90-mile-an-hour winds, and we're certainly make sure that everyone is forewarned of that part of the storm as it makes its way off toward the east. Thanks a lot, Justin. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, James.
All right. That's Justin Cardamone. He's one of our chasers out there, keeping an eye on it. Want to thank also Amanda as well, who's also part of that chase with Justin, keeping an eye on that particular storm, which is right now probably the most impressive storm out of this whole line that continues to make its way off toward the north and east. And we continue with these warnings across a lot of our counties here, Andrew.
In fact, the one I'm flashing on your screen right now is brand new. This one is for 80-mile-per-hour winds, including, yes, the Quad Cities Metro. That is until 7 o'clock, so taking us until the top of the hour. That is for that really strong surge of wind we just showed you blowing through Walcott. It's now getting into Maysville, moving through Bluegrass, soon to be right into Eldridge and Davenport. You can see that new warning got put on top of not only the old tornado warning, but that existing severe thunderstorm warning because the winds have increased so much from this storm. Like you said, the movement went up too as well, moving close to 50, 60 miles an hour. And yeah, now they're saying 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts with flying debris likely.
That is something. Be forewarned if you're in the track of these storms that are making its way across the area. Let's go ahead and put and here's our velocity mode. Let's go and put another updated tracker from the leading edge of that wind-producing thunderstorm and out to the east. We're going to get a tracker on this in just a little bit, but certainly impacting the Eldridge area. Looks like we'll be hugging right along Interstate 80, right on the connection of 80 and 74 right there, and then even farther eastward, heading through Pleasant Valley, Cordova, even around Clinton itself. So if you're watching us in Eldridge, if you're watching us in Cordova, hopefully you are in your safe place. This has some serious wind. Of course, being official with what Justin Cardamone, our storm chaser, has just mentioned. He did experience those 91-mile-an-hour wind gusts from that storm, which is now just making his way just east of Walcott. Things are quieting down around Walcott. We're concerned about the leading edge of that. This storm continues to haul eastward around, 55 miles an hour or so. No, I think it's actually even a little faster than that. I think we saw this storm history of maybe even higher than that.
Yeah.
So that is a very fast-moving storm. The downdrafts coming down from those storms even add to it, making it a very dangerous situation for those towns that are in the impact of that storm.
Yeah, and they were scanning this, by the way, under 1,000 feet above the ground. They were seeing 80-plus mile-per-hour winds. So that is very close to the ground here level, triggering that new severe thunderstorm warning for that higher impact. And I would say it is especially high, the wind that is, the probability of seeing those 80-mile-per-hour winds, very high on the Iowa side of the Quad Cities. Not so much down here, say, in Moline and East Moline.
Right.
But if you're in Davenport, Bettendorf, up to LeClaire and Eldridge, yeah, that's exactly where that strong corridor is going to be heading.
Right, and I think, so if you're watching us in Moline, if you're watching us in Coyne Center, East Moline, Kelowna, I think for you guys, it's going to be more of a heavy rain. You could get a little rush of wind, but the worst of this storm is going to be just to your north and west, okay? So Moline, East Moline, Moline, Kelowna, going into Silvis, I think just going to be dealing with more of the rain itself. But as far as the wind part of this storm, it's going to be just to your north and west. Want to stress that enough for those guys, those towns located in the immediate Quad Cities itself.
Yeah, so we've got the wind threat here. The tornado warning, by the way, to the south that encompassed Wapello, Aledo, that has been allowed to expire. It has now transitioned to a severe thunderstorm warning with similar warnings of very strong wind gusts. So the only active tornado warning we have going on right now would be the one north of the Quad Cities for Dixon, Long Grove, through McCausland, DeWitt, and also into Welton. We're still watching, some quick spin-up potential there, meaning we could get a weaker tornado. I think the window on our really strong tornado potential is quickly coming to a close here, now that storms are starting to merge into a solid line.
Right.
When they do that, the dynamic changes. They can't hold their own and keep spinning and spinning and rotating for longer periods of time. So at least the strong tornado threat is winding down, but now we have to watch for these really quick spin-ups. So right now, that potential still centered here into northern parts of Scott County and also into southern Clinton County. And that's going to go on. I'm trying to remember when that warning expires. There's so many going on. Let's see if I can click on the right layer, because there's about three of them.
I think about 6:45.
6:45, yeah. And I'll peek in the velocity really quickly here just to make sure, because it's been a while. But yeah, this looks like more of the damaging wind threat as opposed to the tornado threat right now.
Okay, and you can see right there on the corner of your screen, that is coming from the Beast, our storm chasing vehicle, just around the truck stop itself, possibly moving toward the east. If Morgan is on the line, we can probably get some more details
can you guys
on her.
hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Morgan.
Okay, so yeah, we have been exactly watching this, honestly following this storm. It's going a lot faster than I anticipated. I was hoping we could maybe get ahead of it, but I just don't think we are going to be able to. It's booking it. But I will say the one saving grace of being on I-80 in these really intense winds is those winds are moving from west to east, exactly the movement that we are going. So far, I will say, the one thing is people are slowing down. We've seen a couple of people with their hazards on, maybe some people who are a little uncomfortable and need to slow down a little bit more. Totally understand that. But that's the one thing that is our saving grace on I-80 right now with these strong winds. What we are going to do now is we're going to get onto I-280 and head towards Milan, because there is that southern portion that I've also been watching with some of those warnings near preemption as well.
Oh, that's a great call, Morgan. I would say that's a really good idea, especially going on 280 itself, because and that line is looking pretty impressive right there that will certainly make its way through downtown Davenport itself and eventually making its way into Bettendorf. Okay, Morgan, be careful out there once again. From our side here, it looks certainly like visibility is not too bad, but that's going to change, I think, a little bit once you do get on 280. So be very, very careful. Looks like we got a new severe thunderstorm warning out now for parts of Bureau County, Andrew.
Yeah, and that is going to be for that hail-producing storm that is also producing 60-mile-per-hour winds that is moving into Stark County at this time. So the warning in Stark County, that is still in place until 6:45, a little less than 30 minutes. But that new warning now in place until 7:30 for a large chunk of Bureau County. That storm is moving due north, but going to start to take a northeastward turn as the line behind it starts to influence its travel here. So I want to put the hail tracker back up because it is likely that we're still dealing with a significant amount of hail. And that is the case, just now getting into Stark County where we still have this really intense hail core getting ready to cross the county line. It's right over Illinois 78. That would likely take it, especially if you have a little bit of a northeast kick to it here shortly. That would kind of take it right into Toulon, heading in this direction right here, and eventually it's going to get into the Bureau County area as well. So there's a couple of your times of arrival. Toulon, let me pull that little menu off of there, about 6:28, and then near the Stark County High School at 6:29. And yeah, we're well on track to get that into Bureau County as it takes a little bit more of a northeastward turn with tide because we're going to start interacting with the wind field of the storms to the west. So that's likely why they're getting ahead of that. 60-mile-per-hour winds, possibly up to golf ball size hail with that storm as it moves through Stark County and into Bureau County.
Really impressive to see that move north with the line to the west moving from west to east. So
yeah,
there's definitely going to be a nice little merger going on that will be taking place right around Henry, Whiteside, parts of northern and western Bureau County. That's really impressive. This is coming from our Eagle Eye on top of the call building in downtown Davenport. A little bit of that lowering of the clouds that we see. We're getting some of that rain is starting to come down a little bit harder. And now we're getting a little shake and bake now with that wind that is taking place in downtown Davenport itself. Hopefully we can keep the camera still running because usually when we're dealing with a lot of heavy rain or even some good wind, usually that camera goes off on us. But thankfully we are getting a good view of that storm, the leading edge of that storm coming on through. Behind that, that's just sheets of rain that is going on, as well as some lightning that's taking place there. But that's coming in with some pretty good rain that is going to eventually encompass most of Davenport itself, and eventually heading in toward Bettendorf, going into Pleasant Valley.
You got a nice view, too, on the Bridgepoint camera, looking into that storm directly as well. You can kind of see the shelf cloud, lots of dark skies, lots of lightning, too.
And we're hearing the sirens going off in Davenport as well. Colin, is that true?
In Moline, too.
Sirens outside our station in Moline. Okay.
Makes sense given the high impact of that warning. 80-mile-per-hour winds, the sirens will sound. Good advice if you have a basement, get in it. If you don't, absolutely stay away from windows. A lot of loose debris out there, especially today. But remember, we had close to 50-mile-an-hour winds out of the south before these storms even came up. Could be some branches, other debris sitting in the yard. You don't want to get caught in that, that's for sure.
Yeah, impressive what we're seeing from our Bridgepoint camera. There's the I-74 bridge itself, the arches that we see there, and that's looking from south to north.
Yep.
And that's kind of showing the leading edge. That's a nice little shelf cloud that we are seeing right there, Andrew, and certainly behind that is where all the action is definitely taking place.
Yeah, really high definition view of what's going on with that storm. A nice shelf cloud, nice little rain curtain behind it as well. You can kind of pan around a little bit further to the west, also to the south, also seeing some nice sheets of rain getting ready to come into the metro along with those gusty winds.
Yeah, that is really impressive. Of course, keep in mind, folks, this is one of many warnings that we are seeing across our area, across eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois, as we kind of take our Bridgepoint camera and throw it a little bit more off to the west. But no doubt there is some, you can see way out in the distance there, some pretty good downpours that are going on. But this is one of many warned storms that are taking place, not just here in the immediate Quad Cities, but also up to our north. Some polygons out there, some of that, our favorite color, our canary color polygons that are going on in parts of Carroll County, even eastern Joe Davies County, Stevenson County. Anytime we see that difference in color, more of a boldness to it, there's more than just a line of severe thunderstorms coming our way. Usually could be an indication of just more than that. It could be something that may be indicating that conditions may be right for a possible tornado to take place. And you can see that by the upper right-hand corner of our screen, just above where it says severe thunderstorm warning. We can actually give you even more of a detailed version of what's going on with those storms that are making their way in those several counties where it says tornado development possible, which means that from the velocity mode, there is some possibility of rotation going on with that particular line that is making its way, especially around southeastern portions of Joe Davies County, making its way toward Loran. Did I pronounce that right, Andrew?
Loran, yep, you got it.
Oh my, I'm 4 for 4 today. Unbelievable in the pronunciation of these towns. But yes, definitely seeing some type of strong force going on with those winds outside of Loran, and continues to make its way off toward the east, trailing its way through Carroll County, the northern half of Carroll County. If you're watching us in Lanark, you may be hearing sirens outside of town. That's because of that straight line wind that's getting to rush on in. So be on the lookout for that. It does not take much to produce some brief power outages, even when you're dealing with those type of winds. Those winds could be around 50 to possibly even 60 miles an hour, just enough to cause those outages to take place. And then we have the multiple warnings that we see encompassing the immediate Quad Cities and eventually points south as you go as well, with one tornado warning taking place in parts of Scott and even around Clinton County.
Yep, still there.
Still there until 6:45, and that's another 15 more minutes, 20 more minutes from now, I would say, to go. Give or take a minute or two, okay? But we are seeing some of that rotation, and it looks pretty darkening, that's for sure, just off of that area, but also looks pretty ominous right outside of Muscatine itself, I believe, right, Andrew, with that picture?
I think, is that picture from Lena still? Might be.
Maybe, it could be. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's right.
I couldn't tell for a minute. I had to get my bearings there. There's
this
Muscatine.
isn't Muscatine.
Mm-hmm. This is 4 miles west of Muscatine. A viewer submitted photo from Missy P. You can see it's a pretty flooded field, a lot of water buildup there.
Yeah, some of this rain has been coming down. Given the speed of it, still able to drop a good maybe a half an inch of rain. So imagine if these storms are moving even slower, you definitely would have been seeing some even higher water. So that's a concern that we have going on as well with these storms. Not so much as far as the flooding. We haven't heard, of course, of any flash flood warnings around the area. But when you're dealing with that much rain in a short period of time, especially when you're driving, it certainly can really drop visibility pretty quickly across the area. Of course, like we said, other warnings that we see, especially south of the Quad Cities, plenty of severe thunderstorm warnings. What really sticks out is that one storm around Stark County. That not only has had some hail with it, but even some good wind. Our future meteorologist, Evelyn, she actually pointed out on her radar scope there that these winds were actually around 60 miles an hour. And sure enough, that's what we're getting even from the National Weather Service, that they have a tendency, they could have a tendency of maybe be as strong as 60 miles an hour, and the possibility of some a golf ball size hail, given the hail size that we're seeing there too, Andrew.
It's still there. Very persistent call for some larger hail in Stark County, also moving northward, but it'll take a northeast turn here shortly. Still expecting that to be in Toulon here, and that will also have some of that strong wind potential with it as well. So again, that's why the warning, the severe thunderstorm warning, is extending so far to the north. Eventually it will take that move to the east, getting into Bureau County, and that warning does include Princeton, and that will go all the way till 7:30, so more than an hour from now. Again, it's going to take some time, but the National Weather Service must be seeing some signs that this is going to continue to strengthen, or at least maintain its strength as it heads to the north and then takes that eastward curve.
It's certainly well ahead of the main line itself, so it's pretty open to grab some of that convective energy that's been ahead of this storm throughout most of the afternoon. Not much to work with, but enough to still keep that that threat going in parts of Stark, but also going into Bureau County. That still is a good sign there, Andrew, that, of course, that once this line moves on through the area, that things will certainly calm down. Of course, right now we're looking at a time of 6:26. The timing couldn't be any better that we've been addressing this for the past 24 hours or so, but it's going to land right where we've been talking about, Andrew, as far as it reaching the Quad Cities right near the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, it's right in that time frame. And speaking of the Quad Cities, 67-mile-per-hour wind gust at the Davenport Airport.
Wow.
The meteorologists at the National Weather Service commenting they were impressed by the duration of the winds, lasting about 5 to 6 minutes at the airport in Mount Joy. So that confirms that, yes, we are indeed seeing that really strong surge of wind. And you're going to see it change colors now that it's going to hop over to the other side of the radar, going away from the radar. So instead of looking for that bright green, we're going to start looking for these fiery yellows as that transition occurs. And you can see we've even had a good rush of wind here. In fact, I think I saw the power bump here in the studio maybe a couple of times. Marcus, who's at my house in Galesburg, says, or not Galesburg, Geneseo, says a power bump there as well.
Right.
Just a few minutes ago.
And here's something, Mark Manuel from iHeartRadio just told me that the power has been popping on and off in Northwest Davenport as well. So speaking of power, let's go to Shelby or Harrison here. Any updates regarding some power outages that may be going on here in the immediate Quad Cities?
Yeah, James, I can tell you that we are seeing a lot more people in the immediate QC without power right now. About 2,000 people on the Quad Cities, Iowa side all day. That's been zero up until about a few minutes ago. I actually just got a text from my fiance. The lights at our house have been flickering a lot in West Davenport. Not so much on the Illinois side just yet, but that number also starting to creep up a little bit. It's at 5 right now, but it was 0 about a minute ago. And then over on the Illinois side, just west of Galesburg, you got about 260 customers near Williamsfield, Illinois, Ameren customers that are without power right now. And then if you go back up north, we still are seeing thousands of people north of Freeport, Illinois, that have not had power for hours at this point.
Yeah, we got some more viewer-submitted photos to show you guys. This is just east of Monmouth from Steve Sandstrom. This is some hail that you can see, about the size of a coin there.
And we want to make sure that's Monmouth, Illinois, right? Not Monmouth, Iowa.
Yes.
Okay. What do we got here, too? Wow.
Some more Mequon hail that we got. Looked at a little bit earlier, but we're getting some more pictures coming out from Mequon there.
That's like about what you said, Andrew, about golf ball size.
Hey, look at all these, yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it looks like it's piling up, too, as well. And yeah, there is definitely a hail threat. That severe thunderstorm warning does extend through Monmouth, through Roseville, not only for the wind potential, but it looks like you've got some hail potential that is mixed in there as well. Doesn't look like a strong signal for really strong or very large hail. That signal continues to remain there in Stark County, going for Toulon. But hail potential is definitely there. We'll put the probabilities on, and yeah, you can see we're kind of maxed out here for at least some smaller, non-severe size hail north of Kirkwood going into Little York. Also, don't forget, we're tracking a good rush of wind that's going to be moving through there, too. In fact, look at the wind signature sitting just to the west of Monmouth, north of Stronghurst. That's going to be crossing right over Monmouth here. US 67, it's in Kirkwood now on 34. It'll ride 34 into Monmouth. That's going to be some very strong wind. I want to poke around on the severe thunderstorm warning just to see what they've got that clocked at. 70 miles per hour is the expected wind gust speed with this line as it goes into Monmouth. And what I'm going to do is we're going to loop this. We're going to track it because this is likely going to pick up intensity. In fact, it looks like it's doing that right now as we get these storm mergers merging together. Sometimes you can get this quick increase in some of these wind speeds. So let's do this. We'll put the line on it. It's going to head mainly due to the east. So eventually we're going to get this into Galesburg. We're also going to get it into Knoxville too. You can see Alexis is in there. Now Galesburg and Stark County as a whole right now is not under a severe thunderstorm warning. That is likely going to change if this surge of wind keeps up its strength. So early warning for Alexis, Galesburg, Knoxville. You may not be under a warning right now, but the possibility of 70+ mile per hour winds will be increasing. It looks like here in about the next half hour, 30 minutes. So heads up. Reason you don't have a warning there, it's a different weather service office that covers Knox County. But still, as they see fit, if that signature continues, I wouldn't be surprised to see a warning for Knox County shortly.
Did you happen to put a loop on that wind velocity heading
yes.
into it? Let's see, we got here again. Okay, yeah. And that really looks impressive with that little notch.
Yep.
Just south of Aledo itself, moving kind of due east. So be very curious, you know, what comes out of that as that kind of makes its way toward the Woodhall area, it appears.
Yeah, that's caught my attention too. That has recently developed here, and I'm looking at the reflectivity, and it looks like what we've got going on at that particular spot is we've got a storm merger.
Yeah.
One of the storms that was working due north has now merged with the line, so may have to keep an eye on that spot there. We can zoom in a little bit closer, just so folks are aware of what we're kind of talking about right here, southwest of Viola. That's that kind of little notch that James was talking about east of Seton. So we're going to have to watch that, especially for Viola. And then as we head off near the I-74 corridor there near Woodhall, we're really going to have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Still hearing the sirens out here in Moline itself. Strongest of those winds now getting across those areas around eastern Scott County and going into Rock Island County itself. You'd be able to see it even better with the wind velocity. Yeah, there it is. And it looks like those winds are now hitting the Quad City International Airport. Now just passing Hampton, now just west of Kelowna itself. So from the wind velocity, that looks still very impressive. A good rush of wind. It looks like the worst of those winds have now just passed our station here over in Moline. This is our, I believe, this is our Eagle Eye on top of our station in Moline, is just up the hill from South Park Mall. Itself, and not too much shaking going on, mainly because the strongest of those winds have now just passed our station here in Moline, now making its way eastward through LeClaire, and we're just a minute away from it impacting Kelowna itself as that continues to make its way off to the east.
Yeah, and we should start getting word about an extension to the severe thunderstorm warnings that will push it more into Henry County, that would push it more into parts of Whiteside County, and also probably into parts of southern Carroll County too. We don't have that yet, but I imagine likely in the next 5 minutes or so we're going to see that extended. There's the arrival time, by the way, for some strong wind gusts. Again, Henry County in Illinois, not under a severe thunderstorm warning unless you're in the small, really extreme northwest portion that's north of Geneseo. They are under a severe thunderstorm warning. But there's your time of arrival. Orion, 6:45, Geneseo, 6:53. The airport there, a small airport, 6:57, and then you've got Prophetstown, if that can hold together, maintaining itself until 7:03. So the sirens here in the Quad Cities likely sounding because the tornado warning to our north was just updated and squeezed to become a little bit smaller now that that threat of rotation is moving northeast. So that tornado warning now, I'll put it on the map here for you, it's been condensed down quite a bit. It's very thin. Let's pull this out. Let's take off some of these layers because, yes, there's a lot going on. A lot of rain, a lot of lightning. Just want to see the warning only. Here's who's still actively under that tornado warning for just a little bit while longer. Shouldn't be too much longer. McCausland, DeWitt, Welton, that's till 6:45. Again, potential for a quick spin up in that area.
Yeah. You know, getting a little bit, it's at a point when you're so close to the radar itself, it can be a little bit of a challenge, but no question it's creating a nice straight line of winds from just north of the Quad Cities and stretching farther south as you go. Once again, and Shelby, once again, what this is out of...
We're taking another look at the Lena cam because they are getting hit again with another round of this storm. It just started. This is better than what it looked like a few minutes ago. We were looking at the camera and it was blowing and shaking, wind all over the place. This is a spot where Illinois Emergency Weather Management has confirmed there was a tornado on the ground.
Okay.
This is up
and
in
the reason why the camera is on an angle is because when those earlier storms
that tornado
rushed
that
on
came
through.
Yep.
Yep.
You can see it really getting battered with rain there now.
And again, anyone up in northern Illinois, you are asked to completely avoid this area. Emergency crews are trying to clear the roads enough to get other first responders in and out of the town. So they're asking everyone else to stay off of the roads.
And looking really impressive with that circulation you see just north of Monmouth there, Andrew.
Yep, you can see.
My goodness.
Very broad circulation with that getting ready to move over Alexis. The thing is, can that tighten up? Can we get that to get a little bit smaller in size to increase this quick spin-up tornado potential as it goes over to I-74? Speaking of I-74, There is a report
Yeah.
near Williamsfield. This is in Knox County. There's a flipped farm trailer. Trees have been snapped. Several power poles are down and snapped. There was also a semi that was flipped on I-74. This is near Williamsfield. So that was from the storm earlier that moved through with that damaging wind and hail threat. Looks like it was indeed some damage there.
And Williamsfield is where we saw a lot of those power outages all centered around.
Yep.
Yeah, and Matt over the National Weather Service, he also officially say, they're watching some of that embedded rotation going on right along the Mercer County, Warren County border, right there on top of Alexis itself. That's kind of an ominous view to see that, knowing that circulation is very well established right there. That is really impressive that we see. Keeping that loop on there, Andrew, let's see if we can actually kind of put a track. I don't know if this may be a little bit of a challenge as far as that is concerned.
Now it looks like we're kind of heading northeast.
Let's go with that. Yep.
Kind of in this direction here. Maybe actually a little further. And almost to me, it looks like it's moving more north now.
More north?
The more I
Yeah.
stare at it, I'm like, okay, no, maybe not northeast. Maybe a little bit more north because of these storm mergers.
Maybe try and go parallel with that wind gust that we see there and line it up with that, or at least close to it. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at here. There you go.
Kind of something like
even,
that.
Even farther north, you want to go there. Yeah. I think that kind of makes a little bit of sense right there. Given the movement, all moving east, and you throw in that looks pretty good.
Yeah, you've got Viola in there, which we mentioned a few minutes ago, kind of being right in the path. Woodhall, Cambridge, perhaps eventually into Geneseo as these storm mergers continue. You have to remember, we have that other storm, too, that is going through Stark County, now entering southern Bureau County. And also looks like, too, we have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning to pull up, and that is going to be for an eastward extension of what we've seen in Scott County. So that now covers southern Carroll County, all of Whiteside County, northern Henry County, and northwest Bureau County. So I'll see if I can pull that up here, and we'll dig into the details in terms of the expected wind speed, all that good stuff. Let's pull this up. We'll throw a couple of things off the map here just to show you. And there is that new warning. And we'll click on it, get it kind of blinking here. This one right here. So that goes until 7:45, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
Wow.
Likely with that. So that, shield of wind, that rush of wind that we just got here in the Quad Cities is not letting up.
Right.
It's still maintaining its intensity.
Yeah, moving around 45. So it kind of tells you that, the winds coming down from these storms could be clocked around 25 or 30 miles an hour. But you got to add, it's math here, folks. You drag the movement, 45, the wind's coming down maybe around 25, 30 miles an hour. And yeah, you may be talking about wind gusts around 70 miles an hour. That's how it works when you're dealing with these fast-moving storms, these fast-moving wind-producing storms that get to a point where they can certainly cause some damage. So you get around 70 miles an hour, no question. That is a big concern with this storm as it continues to make its way off toward the east. So Rock Falls, we're talking about about maybe 40 minutes from now, I would say, for Rock Falls itself. Same goes true for Sterling and Rock Falls, Dixon around 7:36 or so. And of course, Clinton, well, it's pretty much on top of you right now.
It is in Clinton now,
Yeah.
exactly. We'll have to check out our camera there in a moment. New update from the National Weather Service. At this time, none of our counties that we serve here are under a tornado warning. A tornado warning that we were tracking earlier in parts of Scott, Clinton County has been allowed to expire. So everything right now, all severe thunderstorm warnings.
Any more updates, Shelby or Harrison, when it comes to any new power outages that might be going on? We're getting a lot of lightning from this system, this whole line itself. I mean, this is really impressive to see just multiple warnings here, even tornado warnings that are possibly might be heading toward the Macomb area, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But guys, what do you have on your side?
Yeah, we're still seeing about 2,000 people without power in the immediate Quad Cities on the Iowa side of the Quad Cities. And then you have little pockets of power that are out, a couple people near Maquoketa, a couple dozen down south, little around like New London, Mount Pleasant area, and then again over by Williamsfield on the Illinois side, just west of Galesburg. We're not seeing a ton of new updates just yet. I've been refreshing these pages every 2 minutes. One thing we are seeing an increase in is when it comes to the some of these smaller co-ops, like Eastern Iowa Light and Power Cooperative in Des Moines County has about 300 people without power. And then you go further up north into Jones County. Maquoketa Valley Electric Cooperative did have about 300 people without power about 30 minutes ago, but when I'm checking right now, it's down to 33. So we are seeing people clear out pretty fast. And again, please, if it is safe to do so, please send us your pictures and videos of damage or of the storm as it's coming toward you. Again, only if it's safe, but it really helps out our team here and also the National Weather Service. And speaking of photos, this is some of the damage from a school up in Lena, Illinois, where we know a tornado has hit.
Mm-hmm. That's the camera that we were just looking at a little while ago. You can see the damage starting to rack up over there. Got a few pictures here.
Yeah, that's really impressive there, guys. Wow.
And this is actually, it's been a long week of severe weather coverage over here. We covered further down south on the Iowa side, the Waco Community School District. Earlier this week, that school got hit by a tornado, and now we're seeing another one on the Illinois side up in Lena that appears that has been hit.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And it looks like, thanks, guys. And it looks like they have put out a new severe thunderstorm warning, if I get this right, for Henry County, going into places like around Woodhall and even around Cambridge. Am I seeing this correctly? No. My goodness, it's probably one of the most challenging views when it comes to all these polygons, because you think it's kind of closed in. But, when we talked about that swirling going on around Alexis and that continues to make its way off to the north and east, there actually are polygons surrounding everywhere except that part of Henry County.
Yeah. Yep.
Am I reading that right?
You're correct, because when I click on it, nothing happens. So,
That's something.
yeah, there's just that giant gap south of Geneseo to Andover, Cambridge, and Kewanee with no warning.
Which I'm really surprised, given what we're seeing on that wind velocity with that rotation that is taking place aloft. I'm really surprised about that. But, once again, we're not the ones that give out the warnings. We rely on our friends over the National Weather Service. But if we're seeing something out there that is a bit concerning, we're certainly going to help warn people ahead of. Did they finally put it out? I think they just did.
I think we just filled it in. Okay. All right.
Ask and you shall receive.
And there it is. 7:45. That's going to be for 70-mile-per-hour winds.
Wow. But they haven't really gone into details as to, I think, well, let's see here. Okay, they got the show here. Let's see. And like you said, moving east, moving east at 65 miles an hour.
65 miles an hour.
Holy cow.
Yeah, you can see that the front, the what we call the gust front, as we're changing from these bright greens to these hot-looking reds. It's the hot-looking reds that's got the incoming wind with it, and quite a bit of wind at that. Now, I haven't seen any additional wind gust reports yet, but I'm sure those will be coming in shortly, especially as it gets into more of these populated areas. And we'll put the loop on it so you can see how it's been progressing, heading due east. There's the circulation James was talking about, still wrapping itself up here, south of Viola now. It's out of Alexis, so I think the tornado potential is done for you, but you're still getting some very strong winds. But this would be heading up into Sherrard, Cambridge, and eventually Geneseo, and these are the storm interactions that we've been seeing. Also on the other radar product that I'm looking at, also indicating perhaps some increasing spin potential here on the southern edge of this storm, just looks like to the northwest of Abingdon. Maybe something we have to kind of watch here, right about here.
Yeah, you're right.
See that right in there? Could perhaps be a little rotation, because that's where you have another interaction from a storm that was moving due north, colliding into this line, moving due east, and that might be enhancing a little bit of some spin here to the west of Abingdon.
You notice too, I couldn't help but notice, but yeah, with these two areas kind of merging together, you got a lot of that convergence of air, a lot of rubbing going on, and you're going to get a pretty good electrical charge within this area. There wasn't much as far as any lightning, but now you do see that across that area just because of these two areas kind of merging together and producing even more of that lift. And thus, you know, with this being a very much electrical charged a cluster of storms, you're getting even more of that, especially around that area of concern around Monmouth, Galesburg, and now just near the Abington area.
Yeah, I think we're really going to have to watch that. And you can see how the wind kind of has really accelerated forward here while the other half of the storm was moving to the north. Galesburg and Knox County, in terms of warnings, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. The whole county is now, by the way, until 7:15. That's going to be for 70-mile-per-hour winds. It is not tagged tornado development possible, but again, really going to have to watch that signature just to your west. That could get a little interesting here.
Help us out here as far as the camera shot that we see on the right-hand side. That is the town of Galesburg, Andrew. And right now we're, you know, in relationship, they are just west, Galesburg, you're just west of those storms. Pretty darkening skies that we're noticing too, just right of the water tower that you can see out in the distance. So that's a big concern. And these clouds are really hauling from back there to in our direction, I guess you can say, toward the camera itself. So be on guard. People in Galesburg, of course, you're under that warned storm. There's the tracker that Andrew has put down, because that's what we do, folks. We track storms. And Galesburg, 6:54 for you. Just about 7 minutes from now. And more videos, more pictures coming in from you, the viewers, which we can't thank enough. It really helps us out here. And what do we got? This is just out of Kewanee.
Yeah, 2 miles east of Kewanee. Yeah, submitted from Holly Dana. You can see the cloud formations there.
That could be more of a kind of a scud that we may be seeing with that. Of course, it's a challenge when you're dealing with just an image. Video would be better. But Holly, hey, thanks a lot. That really helps us a lot. And here's another one. This is out of Cambridge, I believe?
Yes, looking west from Jeffrey S.
And how long ago was this picture taken, and when did you guys receive this?
We just received this a couple minutes ago. I'm not exactly sure on when it was taken, but that's when we got it at least.
All right.
And James, while I have a second here, the Rock Island County Sheriff's Office has just posted a warning to everyone who lives along the Rock River. We've been monitoring the Rock and the Mississippi's flood levels all week long, and they are asking people, we saw some flood warnings taking place up to our north, and now they're saying, please take precautions if you live along the Rock River. The Rock Island County Emergency Management Agency will continue to monitor the storms and the predicted flooding, but we've had a lot of rain not only this week, but just this evening alone, and a lot of that's up north. It's got to come down south.
Yeah, in fact, you know, and before we're going to get it, I want to talk more about that in just a little bit. But once again, text us if you have any information, any type of damage, or just with the storms coming in, as long as it's safe out there, okay? You can do that by texting 309-304-0888 on your phone, or you can email us those pictures too, even video, at news@wqad.com. What's going to be interesting is, the concern on the Rock River. We've been seeing some pretty good rain, especially upstream. And with the ground so saturated, the runoff is certainly going to be making its way through those tributaries, and more importantly, going into the Rock River itself. So we're really concerned about that. But I want to get to this because this is a brand new tornado warning, right, Andrew?
That's right. Just hot off the press here until 7:30. Galesburg, Knoxville, Williamsfield, East Galesburg, Abingdon, McQuan, all included in this, along with the I-74 corridor. This is that rotation that we were talking about. And look at what's happening. It looks like we're now starting to tighten this up here just a little bit more, with the wind increasing not only on the front side of this, but also on the back side of this storm as well. So it looks like, you know, you see the curly Q, the little wrap there southwest of Galesburg. That's headed right for downtown if we're still getting a little northerly kick on this, Going to cross, it looks like, Illinois 41 here in the next few minutes. So tornado warning, that is until, I think, what did I say, 7:45? I think that's what I just said a moment ago. I can pop it back up there in a second. But
certainly minutes away from Galesburg itself.
Yeah, definitely. So anybody in Galesburg, Knoxville, now the time to get into your safe place. We're staying away from windows. If it's not a tornado, it's 70-mile-per-hour winds. That's also what you're warned for with that severe thunderstorm warning. If you don't have the basement, interior closet, bathroom, it's exactly where you want to go. Again, this is not the high, strong, damaging tornado potential now. We've switched over to these quick spin-ups, which are usually a little bit weaker, but still, you can get some damage out of these at times.
Yeah, I was just checking on some information regarding the Rock River itself. Over at the Rock River in Moline, it is expected to crest 2 feet above flood stage by early Monday, on Monday morning, whereas over in Jocelyn, that's a little bit more upstream. Flood stage is at 12 feet. It's going to be approaching close to 4 feet above flood stage. Going into Monday, on Monday midday or afternoon. So that's something that is going to be a big concern as we hit through the weekend, but going into early next week, especially around Jocelyn. There's definitely going to be some flooding in that town as we make our way into the next few days or so. So here we go again. You've got some more pictures coming in, and really impressive what we're seeing here, guys.
This one was submitted from Madison Johnson out of, how do you pronounce this one? Scioto?
Scioto.
Yeah.
There we go. Some cloud formations there, pretty crazy image. And then some more hail here from, I believe it's Toulon.
Yep, that's Toulon, Illinois.
Right there in Stark County, yeah.
That's definitely golf ball sized hail, I would say.
Oh, no question about that. Got the great picture there. And once again, thank everyone. Kaylee, oh, fantastic. That's great for us. That really helps us on finding out what was exactly going on in relation to what we're seeing on our radar. So that is really impressive. And that particular storm is continuing to make its way to the north and east, heading toward parts of Bureau County. But the big concern that we're seeing here is some possible rotation that could be right on top of Galesburg itself. And this is the camera out of Galesburg, keeping an eye on this storm as it makes its way through.
Yeah, the wind has ramped up, that's for sure. We're noticing a little bit more of a forward surge in the radar presentation. Maybe not so much in the velocity, but I'm looking at the regular radar presentation, and there is a big surge forward that's heading just south of Galesburg. So that's likely where the strongest winds will be, Galesburg into Abingdon. Yeah, just clipping Knoxville. In terms of the rotation, though, just trying to kind of put my eyes on this with a loop to see if anything in particular stands out. And it looks like the strongest rotation would be just to the north of Abingdon. Now the last scan we had about 2 minutes ago had a nice little, what we call a couplet, so a very contained and very small area of rotation that was just north of Abingdon. That has since gone away, but it looks like if you're south of Galesburg, I'd say south of Galesburg, between Abingdon and that area there, and south of Knoxville, that's likely where the rotation is still ongoing from what I can tell.
And I'm just kind of looking at the tops of the trees right there, and showing some of that movement, just showing some of that wind that may be coming down as well. You know, Andrew, of course, as you've been stressing, which has been great, is now that, you know, we're getting some leafiness, if that's the proper way of putting it, on some of the trees. And when you're dealing with some of that wind, that's always a big concern as far as, you know, tree limb damage in some of these parts.
Yep, that wind has more what we call surface area or things to grab onto. That can really enhance your damage, not only with your trees, but of course increasing power outages as well. I'm going to see if I can switch our radar to the Central Illinois, the Lincoln office, because I think that's getting a little bit better sampling of what's going on with the wind. It's showing up the rotation just a little bit better. But what I have to do is I have to kind of convince the radar that that is the only one I want to see. I don't want to go back to the Quad Cities radar. So give me 1 second. I'm going to peel off some of these layers and tell it, hey, I only want the Central Illinois one, just to see if we can get a better view inside that, because again, it's not being contaminated with rain and a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll see if this is going to cooperate with me. There we go. That looks much more defined if you look at the Lincoln radar. You can definitely see where the rotation is here, and that would be south of town, right there.
Yeah.
So that heads to the east, and put a little tracker on it, shall we? Get that out of there. So Knoxville, we'll zoom in there. There you can see where Knoxville is. So it's going to be coming very close to Knoxville here in the next couple of minutes. And then it looks like it's essentially just going to hug I-74 for a little bit, and then go north of I-74 into Millbrook. So let's put that on there. throw the tracker in. Let's go this way to the east. And there you see your time of arrival, including some of the big landmarks there in Galesburg. You got the Old Cottage Hospital. You've also got Dehinda in there at 7:15, and Millbrook eventually at the very end of this track at 7:27. So again, this is a view from the Lincoln radar. This is a less contaminated view. And what's interesting too is our radar algorithm here from the Quad Cities radar is actually trying to pick up another circulation right south of Abingdon. And again, you can kind of see it on our radar presentation here as well, kind of in this general vicinity right here, the possibility of another quick little spin up here in the next few minutes, and that would take it into Mequon. So at this point, I think it's safe to say you can just do this whole line. And we'll put the tracker on that because the leading edge of this whole line has got a couple of what we see call these notches or these indentations indicating that there's some rotation there. So let's just go ahead, light up the whole line, make sure everybody's included because that's going to the east. And there's Galesburg, Knoxville again. But now you're throwing in Watauga, you're throwing in Mequon, and you're also throwing in Victoria before the bottom of the hour. So if you're in any of those towns that we just listed, 70-mile-per-hour winds and a quick spin-up tornado possible really at any moment.
Yeah, no question about it. What we're seeing right there on the radar itself, kind of even dipping its way a little bit more down around Berwick, just west of St. Augustine as well. There could be some little couple of trying to develop there just east of Roseville. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But no question, right around the Galesburg area, some very heavy rain coming down. And maybe with the close-up that's going on here in Galesburg, they may be indicating even maybe some hail. That's probably why they're closing in just to see. Plenty of lightning going on there as well. Too hard to see, but maybe even some pea-sized hail. Oh, there you can see the hail actually. There it is, right there on the right next to the camera, right in front of the camera itself.
Oh,
see how it's bouncing?
Yep.
No question, that is some hail falling in Galesburg as we speak.
Let's see what's kind of hard to tell what size, of course, until we can see.
Yeah, that rain is really coming down in Galesburg. Look at that. It just gets more blinding as you make your way pretty much like due west.
Yeah, you can see the wind driving the rain, too, across the platform.
You're barely seeing the steeple church in the distance there. It's you can't see it. Very
impressive. Oh, yeah, you can see it blowing across the lens, too.
Yeah.
How strong that wind is.
Whoa, and they're getting some serious lightning in there as well. My goodness.
Yeah.
Once again, Andrew, it's great to have these eyes out there. All these camera shots really help clear the picture even more so.
Yeah, and no doubt the wind, we talked earlier about that surging forward. It's the same area where the tornado warning is, by the way. What you're watching in the radar presentation, how this is bending to the east, that's the period, and that's actually where your strongest winds are going to be. Not to mention, you get one of these little indentations like what's coming out of Galesburg right now. That's where you get your quick spin up. And that very well could be going on right now, what we're seeing on the camera here. It'd be interesting to see, you know, if we hold this shot maybe for a minute, do we eventually see maybe a change in direction of the water droplets on the lens? That could tell us.
That's very true. I never thought of that. That's right.
Maybe we have a little bit of that rotation going on. Because that looks really intense right now. The combination of the rain and the wind looks really, really intense.
Yeah, there's that, you know, even on the GR level, there is a nice little tornado icon right there, just south and east of town.
Yep,
itself. Do you see that?
South of Knoxville.
Yep.
So right between Knoxville and where Abingdon was, and now we'd be looking at Mequon. So now between Knoxville and Mequon is where we've got this potential for this quick spin-up tornado that's going to be coming through.
Right.
That matches up well with the reflectivity. I'll give it that.
Very much so. Let's keep that, once again, let's keep that shot of Galesburg, okay? Let's go down a little bit farther, I think just west of Western Illinois University there in Macomb, if we can. And this makes it a bit of a challenge just because of the radar itself. Is this out of Lincoln now?
Now we're out of Lincoln, yep.
Okay. And there are plenty of severe thunderstorm warnings, even a tornado warning just west of Macomb, I believe, itself. If I can just get my radar on my side here to cooperate. Getting closer. Come on. There we go.
Yep, you're right. Just southwest of Macomb, south of Carthage.
Yep. There we go. Yeah. There is some type of circulation going on right around the Carthage area itself, pretty much on target toward Macomb. So definitely be on the lookout. If you're watching us from Macomb over at Western Illinois University, there is some nice notches in there that may be representing that. Some hail could very likely be in there as well, just south and east, no, just south of Carthage itself, and continuing to make his way right toward the Macomb area as well. There you go, and there's your tracker that we see here for Macomb. Time right now is right at 7 o'clock, and we're talking about 40 minutes from now that it will be impacting the Macomb area. So you're gonna get some rain. You're gonna get some vivid lightning, maybe some brief power outages. Gotta be concerned about this wind. It's really moving that part of the storm eastward. So yeah, definitely take cover if you're watching us from Macomb, as that storm is just minutes away from you.
70-mile-per-hour wind gusts with that warning that was issued for the Macomb area. Not to mention, like you said, the rotation coming in to your southwest. You can see that curling up back to the north and west on the radar presentation that is south of Carthage. That's where your rotation is going to be. And yeah, on its current trajectory, we have that heading right into the Macomb area. Still, these storms even further to your north really packing a punch that are moving into La Harpe. You've also got Roseville still expecting some very strong winds. And of course, we're still tracking that one active tornado warning that includes Knox County. That's going to go until 7:45. And we're still getting that signature on our radar algorithm that something could be possibly brewing south of Knoxville. That signature still being depicted there. And I'll zoom in, show you exactly where we're talking about here. Right here, kind of right near Knox Highway 2017, where you got Steakhouse Road there, just south of town. On the southern edge of this tornado warning is where we have some of that possible rotation.
Certainly be keeping an eye on that. Certainly be keeping an eye on other locations, even when it comes to our storm chasing vehicle and the Beast. Morgan has been keeping a track on that. She's been doing some chasing for the past several hours or so. And we'd like to find out what is actually going on with her, find out what her location is and what could be next for the Beast as well. So not sure if we have Morgan on the, she's at the QC airport. Okay, Morgan, tell us what you're seeing from your vantage point. You're pretty close to our station right now.
Yeah, we actually decided to pull off here at the Quad Cities International Airport, and you can see we got those clear skies that are coming in from the west, just a little bit of a peak of light. It's been nonstop raining here. It's been wind. It's been a lot of thunder and lightning, that is for sure. I'm also kind of working as well with some of our digital people because we've been getting some images of potential reports of either a nice funnel cloud north of Aledo, kind of near where that rotation was, near Viola, not too long ago. So I'm also communicating with the National Weather Service to see what they think about that. And but yeah, we just pulled off for a little bit to see, or kind of wait this round out. I've been watching the radar. We kind of got behind the storm. It was moving a lot faster than we expected. But also just kind of parking ourselves to see if any more reports were seen kind of nearby, maybe that rotation near Woodhall. But it's definitely quieter now. I mean, it seems like the rain is coming to an end here at the International Airport as well.
Well, let's remind everyone too that you did some chasing just to west of the Quad Cities around Nichols, around Wilton, and certainly had some intense winds that were actually registered over 90 miles an hour. So you didn't get impacted by that particular storm, and that was the same storm that made its way, that grazed parts of the immediate Quad Cities, even around the Mount Joy Airport. So has been a very, very successful chase for you, Morgan.
Yeah, we tried to stay ahead of that storm as much as we could. We were definitely, again, like I said previously, we caught that storm near, where were we? We were, near Nichols, and then we zoomed over to Wilton as best as we could, but it was a lot of low visibility on roads. The same with Interstate 80 as we got on Interstate 80, but I will say the saving grace when you're on Interstate 80, especially if you are going eastbound, is you are riding those winds with it. So luckily, the car wasn't being tossed around, but I can tell you the second we got on I-280 to head south to the Quad Cities International Airport, that's when the visibility really dropped, because you're getting that wind to go the rain to go sideways at you. You're getting the wind that's pushing your car a little bit more. So it got dicey there for a minute, that's for sure.
All right, Morgan, thank you so much. Awesome job you've been doing as far as the chasing is concerned. And once again, once you find out about the information from the National Weather Service regarding that possible funnel cloud that took place outside of Aledo, hey, let us know right away. Thank you very much. All right, let's go. Actually, we got we have information that there is a confirmed tornado on the ground 3 miles northwest of Carthage in Hancock County.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go down there really quickly and see what we got. There it is. There's your warning. That's the one we were talking about just a few moments ago, about how this was going to be heading for Macomb. And kind of curious to put the velocity back on there. And oh yeah, you definitely got some very strong winds, both going in opposite directions here. Now remember, we're a little far away from the radar. There's the Lincoln radar, which gives a little bit better view. But yeah, there's definitely something worthy of the tornado warning there, I'd say for sure. Kind of want to put a loop on this too to see how that's evolved a little bit. So we're saying confirmed on the ground. Is that what you saw near Carthage?
Yeah, they said, just around Carthage itself, just outside of Carthage. And that came down, where was it? About 2 minutes ago.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 3 miles northwest of Carthage.
Northwest of Carthage. Just kind of looping that really quick.
It's moving. It certainly is moving pretty quickly.
It is moving fast. It definitely is. So it's probably this northern cell that we're seeing right there, just north of Carthage, like you said. So if you put that on there, you're likely kind of moving more in this direction, kind of to the northeast.
Yeah.
So Macomb a little bit after the bottom of the hour, it looks like, if we can keep that together.
Yeah, less than 30 minutes from now. But that thing's really moving, so it may be even a little bit less than that. We'll see how that turns out. But that's just giving the information that we've heard from the Weather Service as far as the speed and such, and that's what we kind of dotted in here with this particular storm. But it's showing just after 7:30, maybe about 10 minutes faster than that. We'll see how that turns out. But no question, that is a storm that has some circulation that does confirm a tornado on the ground just outside of Carthage itself.
And it looks like another new tornado warning for northeastern Knox County has just popped up.
Wow, okay.
That also includes Stark County. So let's grab the details on that. Let's put in our little warning guy here, see if it grabs onto it. And yes, it did. That is until 7:30. So you've got Bradford, Tulane in there, Watauga, Wyoming. We'll see what they're seeing here in terms of the data. And yeah, it's another
that
instance.
notch, yeah.
Yep, that notch is still continuing. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here, get our bearings. So now we are pushing east of Knoxville, northeast of Knoxville. And it looks like it's still kind of heading into the northeast here a little bit. Put the loop on it just to verify. And yeah, we're starting to get kind of that northeast jaunt. So the tornado warning, the new one, likely going to cover that for that quick spin-up potential, heading to the northeast now of north of I-74.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out from that one that goes into Stark County. Are they looking at the notch that's located around Victoria, you said?
That's what I'm wondering, if they're seeing that little inflow region right there. That's what I'm thinking they're looking at. I'm going to throw the rotation tracker on there. There's a couple areas, but I think that might be what they're looking at there.
Yeah, that might be it, because that other notch that we see, just north of Interstate 74, north of 150 there, that is, right, exactly. That's one tornado warning storm, but that other one, that was kind of weird. If you can put the polygons back on again, and that's really, maybe they're just, these two warnings are kind of working together on this, would you say?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if we're going to start to see that northeast pole, because this was one of those storm combinations that was going on, where you had the one going to the north and one going to the east. So I'm wondering if maybe they're counting for that new movement, that you're going to see this move to the northeast a little bit.
That's got to be it, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't see anything north of that for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's because it's definitely making its way into the other tornado warning, that polygon right there. So no matter how you look at it, it's a warned storm. It's a tornado warned storm. So, you know, certainly batten down the hatches outside of Victoria, Bradford. Toulon, though, certainly in that path in Stark County. So definitely make sure that you are heading into your safe place. It's really moving pretty quickly. Once again, let's put a tracker on that if we can for our friends out there in Toulon and Bradford as well. This storm continues to move very quickly out of the northeast. Probably, once again, it's sustaining itself around 55 miles an hour. So definitely near the bottom of the hour around Toulon, Bradford, about 10 minutes till 8 o'clock for you. You'll be impacted by this storm as it makes its way off to the north and east.
Yeah, it's holding its own. It's still got that strong surge of wind. It's still warned for 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And now you're going to throw in the embedded tornado threat, too. And it is in your textbook perfect radar presentation for getting those quick spin-ups. All these little indentations where the wind is trying to go back into the storm while the wind inside the storm is trying to push out. You're getting that spin that can lead to that quick tornadic potential. So I have to kind of keep watching that line. I'm still also watching the line to the north where you've got still some of these surges of some stronger winds. It looks like the winds now out of Geneseo, but starting to get into Kewaunee along that severe thunderstorm warning. And still some strong winds just on the other side of Galesburg here, the east side of Galesburg. That's all moving east. You also have some stronger pockets of wind getting into Prophetstown, just west of town in Sterling Rock Falls, and also up into eastern Carroll County. So still a couple of warnings to get through here yet. But it looks like at this point, we are pretty much done with the Iowa side of the Mississippi River. The severe threat has completely ended for the Iowa side as of right now.
That the leftovers, the thunderstorms that we see outside of Waterloo and Cedar Rapids, those have been generally moving from southwest to north. Yeah, and they are. Yeah, so that's certainly not going to be a concern when it comes to our viewing area. But the tail end of those storms on our reflectivity mode here is showing the activity now getting primarily set more on the Illinois side, but still along and east of that boundary, still numerous warnings that we see, one making its way into Lee County, Illinois, and then, of course, several more that we see from that severe thunderstorm warning in portions, a good chunk of Henry County extending into Bureau County. That is until 7:45. And then you have those 2 tornado warnings that very likely is going to be just the one for northeastern Knox County and extending into Stark County. That is until about 7:30. Once again, really proud of the models. They've been very consistent in timing all this out. Excuse me, especially when it comes to the timing of the worst part of the line, which is some good news there.
Yeah, the timing has been perfect. We've been talking about that 5 to 6, 5 to 7 time frame. That is exactly what we saw with these storms as they came in. Now we're focusing mainly on the Illinois side of the river. Again, watching for that embedded tornado threat, especially I would say in that northern polygon, the northern tornado warning that extends into Knox County, because that's really where we're seeing some of those signs of rotation. So I'm going to go back into the velocity mode here really quick, see if anything has changed. And yeah, we still have that indentation right now just north of the I-74 corridor. So I would really focus more attention kind of on this northern polygon where we were talking about Victoria, Toulon, and eventually Bradford for that quick spin-up potential. It does look like, speaking of Stark County, there's another storm report that came in there from earlier. Sheet metal barn had the roof ripped off. This was near West Jersey. Kind of one of the small towns that you pass through if you're going the back way to Peoria. So it looks like some damage in West Jersey with a barn getting its roof ripped off. And that would make sense with the wind that came through with that earlier line that was moving from south to north. It also had that huge hail threat with it too. Still lots of lightning. And again, we use lightning as one of those conditions of intensity to tell us what's going on with the storm. It is still loaded. That means it's still producing severe weather, though it looks like to the north, we're starting to see a little bit of kind of a downturn in the potential severe weather. In fact, I'm looking at the velocity data here. There's more scattered pockets of some stronger winds in Whiteside County. You're not seeing that solid line like we're seeing further to the south here, now in eastern Bureau County, getting in, or excuse me, eastern Henry County getting into western Bureau County. You can see the difference here. Notice how we've got a solid line indicating some very strong winds. Meanwhile, you go up here, it looks a little, I guess, mushy, you could say. Nothing well defined. We also don't see any defined rotation up north either. So it looks like the severe weather threat decreasing into Carroll and Whiteside County, now moving into more eastern Henry, western Bureau, getting down here, of course, into eastern Knox County, and now into Stark County. And we're still seeing that little indentation.
There it is, yeah.
That little notch right there, northwest of Millbrook for that tornado potential. In fact, the radar algorithm still saying, looks like north of Williamsfield. And I'm trying to get my Millbrook back on the map here. I think it's about that same location. It has to be. They do have the tornado icon on our algorithm here that the radar is indicating the possibility of that developing right there.
Yeah. They did throw out, by the way, we go a little bit farther south of that too. There is a tornado warning for Macomb itself from those storms. They're saying that they're experiencing winds around 80 miles an hour with that line getting ready to make its way just west of Macomb itself. And there still is some pretty decent rotation going on with that particular storm. There was a confirmed tornado from a spotter north of Plymouth. And that's kind of in that same area where Macomb is right now. So definitely batten down the hatches. That's a severe tornado warning that goes on until about 8 o'clock. That's about 45 minutes within this part of the warning that we're seeing here for Hancock County. So Macomb, Western Illinois University, okay, students there, just make sure that you're batting down the hatches. Things are going to get interesting. You may be dealing with some brief power outages for you there. What camera shot, I believe, is that Macomb right there?
That is Macomb, yep.
Excellent, guys. Great job there. And right now you can see, and I think, oh my goodness, help me out here, Andrew. This is facing west, I believe.
Yeah, I'm looking at the lightning in the cloud. You can see the rain core. I believe you are facing west.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit southwest, perhaps.
And that circulation may be right around the Scioto area. I'm not sure. I can't really tell.
That's what I'm looking at too. I think you're right. I think it's right around there.
Yeah.
And the algorithm not showing anything right now, but yeah, I think it's just to the north.
Okay.
Based on the reflectivity, the velocity data. That's what it looks like to me anyway.
If you're watching us from the immediate Quad Cities, things have really calmed down, which is good. You're pretty much in the clear now that we're past 7 o'clock, but still for hometowns east of the river itself. Ooh, boy, that was an impressive lightning bolt out there.
Yeah, no kidding, my gosh.
Mainly on the Illinois side is where we're still dealing with several warnings that are taking place, including a couple of tornado warnings that are going on, mainly in places like around Hancock, as we just mentioned, but also heading into eastern Knox as well as Stark County. Those are the ones that we're really keeping an eye on as we go through these next 45 minutes or so. But the camera you see right there in the upper right-hand corner, that is coming out of Macomb. A lot of cloud-to-ground lightning taking place just north and west of town that we have been noticing. And there are the warnings that we see going into places like around Knox and Stark County. There's some really impressive lightning outside of town in Macomb there. But that one warning that we see south of that, south of Interstate 74, that's going to be allowed to cancel. We're just concerned about that that couplet that we are seeing just right near, I would say, Galva, right? Just near Galva itself. There are a couple little notches right there, but certainly heading toward the Toulon area itself.
Yeah, right in there. Yeah, it looks just right west of Toulon, right east of Victoria. That's where our radar algorithm is still indicating some possible rotation there. So this is riding the southern edge, if you will, of that northern tornado warning. So that southern tornado warning is likely going to go away here shortly. The one up to the north, absolutely still valid for what we're seeing on the radar here. You can see, yes, there's also some rotation being picked up by our algorithm that's still moving off to the east here. I'll zoom in a little bit closer just for reference so you can see where this is detected. So there's Victoria, there's Toulon, right on track where we've seen that little inflow of the air flowing backwards, flowing westerly into the storm. And then, of course, on the south side of the storm, you have the wind flowing towards the east, pushing out that rain-cooled air. So some rotation, still on track to move in to extreme southwestern Stark County here shortly, and hence why you have that tornado warning. Let's pop up the details of that one more time so you can see again. We're going to look at the northern one. That warning goes until 7:30, so we have just about 10 more minutes on that. The storm has picked up a little bit of forward motion, so it's moving a little bit quicker. Nothing confirmed on the ground right now. This is radar indicated, but again, if you're in the path of that warning, much of Stark County there, you do need to take shelter at this time as something could quickly spin up. Lots and lots of lightning indicating that storm is very powerful. Even more lightning with that storm that is tornado warned for Macomb there, indicating it is just as powerful. Going back to what's happening further to the north here, we can start to clear out some of these towns and give you the all clear. Let's go back to the wind data. We can basically say all clear for Geneseo, Cambridge, Woodhull, you look clear as well. We can also call the all clear for Erie, Provincetown, of course the Quad Cities as well, no longer under any warnings. Clinton is done. A couple pockets of some heavier wind here into Sterling Rock Falls, so we'll give you just a few more minutes. Up to the north, not seeing anything too impressive either when it comes to winds. So we're slowly but surely moving this event through, and I'll clear off the radar data so you can see what warnings remain. So we still have a severe thunderstorm warning for Whiteside County, but again, I think that's going to be going away here very quickly. That's until 7:45. Wouldn't be surprised if it's out of here by 7:30. You've got another severe thunderstorm warning to the east of that for Lee County. That goes until 8:15. That's for 60-mile-per-hour winds, a quick spin-up tornado possible. Another severe thunderstorm warning for northern Bureau County, 60-mile-per-hour winds. That goes until the bottom of the hour, so that will be ending shortly. And then another severe thunderstorm warning for much of Henry County, including Geneseo, Kewaunee, Cambridge, down to Galva as well. That also is for 60-mile-per-hour winds, and that will expire at 7:45. The one and only active tornado warning, at least in the immediate region here, still in place for Stark County for that area of rotation we've been tracking. That tornado warning will go until 7:30, so not much time left on that either. Then further to the south, in southern Knox County, another severe thunderstorm warning for winds up to 70 miles per hour. That will go at 8:15, though it looks like most of the threat there even has moved a little bit further to the eastern half of the county. Still have some strong weather here to the western half to get through, but the wind potential looked a little bit less compared to what was going on to the north.
No question about that. Big difference indeed, but still a very dangerous situation that is going on. Of course, we'll try and keep you updated in the Macomb area, but as Andrew was mentioning, things are really beginning to kind of narrow down, at least when it comes to our viewing area south and east of the Quad Cities itself. So the one that we're, of course, being concerned about, parts of now, I think now it's more of eastern Henry County going into Bureau County. I think everything is kind of a targeting toward Bureau County, going toward the Princeton area eventually, but certainly that line making its way through parts of Stark County, getting ready to make his way into Toulon eventually in Bradford. And then all the focus is going to be really heading in toward Bureau County itself. And I think once we get through this storm through Bureau County, then we can certainly give the all clear when it comes to our viewing area. And the timing couldn't be any better. We've been kind of looking at the end of this storm taking place right around 8, maybe just after that, going to 8:15. And here we are at the clock at around 7:23. So things are looking pretty good as far as when this threat will be coming to an end. But this is the biggest concern that we have right now, at least when it comes to our viewing area. This is a line that has some pretty intense winds with it. Evelyn was just showing me some of the wind gusts that were coming out of it. That's been really impressive, enough to certainly cause some damage, and why we continue with these warnings for parts of Stark and eventually making its way into Bureau County. We're going to be seeing extension of this likely maybe tornado warning making its way through southern half of Bureau County as that makes its way off toward the east-northeast. That little notch is still trying to hold itself together, and certainly concerned about just below that notch where the strongest of those winds are actually taking place, right from Millbrook all the way to Toulon.
Yeah, very long corridor of wind, all the way even up to Kewaunee, it looks like, that's coming through. And there goes the window. Let's see if we can get that back up on the screen here, and we'll go back over to that area. Yeah, I would agree with James. You know, in the near term here, it's going into Stark County, it's going into Bureau County. That's where we're going to see, and of course down to Macomb. That's where we're really going to see the last of this strong activity begin to push through. So that's where our attention is really going to be focused, is on those two areas, into eastern Henry County, western Bureau County, into Stark County, and then down to the south as you go into the Macomb area. Still have some beefy storms here too, not to mention a little bit north of Macomb, where you still have some severe thunderstorm warnings for those areas, but that looks like it's also going to be kind of trending down here as well as it's heading off. Could be that this storm near Macomb kind of tries to steal some of the energy from those northern storms to keep itself going.
Yeah, I'll let you get a chance to change your mic because we are getting low on your battery there, but I'll throw a few things in here, and that was, where was it? It just was there. Our friends at WKEI, it's out in Kewanee, Jennifer Russell out there, just reported about just seconds ago, very heavy rain, blinding rain, strong winds now hitting Kewanee as we speak. And that's certainly part of that line that is just south of Kewanee itself. So that is part of that warned storm as it continues to make its way through Kewanee and eventually going into southwestern Bureau County. So I believe like around Buda, be aware of that one storm. The Kewanee got hit with that intensity with the winds and rain. That is definitely heading in your general direction. Certainly getting a lot of reports of some flooding that has been taking place just north and west of Macomb, around Carthage itself. Seeing some low-lying clouds that happened around the Carthage area, right near Plymouth itself. So those storms continue to make their way off to the north and east, really focusing on these storms in parts of Henry, going into Bureau, and even around Stark County. So that's the strongest part of this line as it makes its way off to the north and east. Not seeing much as far as the lightning is concerned, mainly seeing this as really getting to become more of a heavy rain but intense wind event as it continues to make its way off to the north and east. And just to remind everyone out there too that the passage of this system is going to allow us to get back to wearing those light jackets again heading into this weekend, as we're going to be looking at plenty of winds. That's going to put a slight little chill in the air, maybe talking lower 50s for highs on Saturday and maybe mid to upper 50s as we head to Sunday. Strongest of the winds will be taking place tomorrow, so I was going to feel maybe a good 10 degrees cooler than that. So if you got any outdoor plans tomorrow, have that jacket ready to go. It's going to be a pretty good chill, but fortunately, we do see those temperatures improve nicely going into next week. Lower 60s on Monday, but we're very likely to be talking about temperatures back around 80 starting on Tuesday and going through most of next week. That will eventually lead to our next round of some wet weather. So we're going to get a chance to finally dry out nicely after, being pounded by all this heavy rain through most of this week. So that's going to be a nice sight to see this weekend and going throughout most of next week as well.
That will be a welcome sight. I think we're all ready for a break from the storms. That is for sure. We're ready for a quieter pattern. I know all of us are for sure. I want to give you a quick update on the tornado watch. We're peeling away counties, which is good. The tornado watch is no longer in place for the immediate Quad Cities. We've also gotten Jackson, Clinton County out of this, Carroll County, Joe Davies County, all the way down to Mercer County, Louisa County, Henry County, Lee County, all of those counties I just mentioning now out of the tornado watch. Your threat of severe weather has now ended for the evening. Notice, though, the ones that remain in the tornado watch, it's been extended another hour. It's been extended until 9 o'clock, likely because it will probably be close to the 9 o'clock hour when the storms are finally exiting places like eastern Bureau County, near LaSalle, Peru, and into Putnam County. So that's the reason for the extension. We'll gradually see more of those towns, by the way, in those counties pulled out of the watch as the severe weather continues to shift a little bit more to the east. You're still seeing that impressive swirl with that storm as it's coming through Stark County, by the way. Our algorithm's still detecting the potential for a quick spin up here just to the west of Toulon. It looks like actually right over top of Toulon right now. And you can see a little bit of that here. And there's Toulon itself. Let's get back to the velocity data and see what we can find out. Yeah, a little bit of that curvedness in there.
Still in there, and
Still
it just
there.
updated and then continues to make its way off to that north and east, Andrew.
It just doesn't want to quit.
No.
It just keeps going. It's like the Energizer Bunny.
How come I had a feeling you were going to say that?
So
It was right there. And you're right. I mean, it's still holding itself together. The structure still is very good. It's still very solid as it makes its way off to the north and east. And once again, it's just not that couplet. There's some good wind coming out of this particular storm, probably reaching those winds around maybe 60 miles an hour. And you can see how intense it is, color-wise, just ahead of that little couplet that we see there. And that continues to make its way pretty much off to the northeast. It's going to be pretty close to the Princeton area. How about this? Let's kind of widen that shot a little bit and see what we can do as far as where that couplet was in relationship to Princeton itself. And we can actually try and put a loop on that as well, if we can. Let's see what we got here. And you can see where that couplet is, even on the reflectivity mode.
Yep.
And if we, can you take that ruler and kind of stretch it to where it's going to be, looks like just south of Princeton, would you say?
I would say, yeah, just south of Princeton. Probably more LaSalle, Peru.
Right.
Right into there. That's likely where it's going to be.
Okay. I understand from Colin that we have some video here eastbound on Interstate 74 near Orion. And not sure what has gone what's gone on here. Definitely we're seeing emergency vehicles on both east and westbound, it looks like. Shelby or Harrison have...
Yeah, this was actually submitted to us by our reporter Jonas Evans a short while ago. Southbound currently on I-74 just north of Orion.
Yep.
Jonas also made sure to let us know that as far as he can tell over there, northbound traffic isn't impacted.
And just a second here while you guys are taking a moment here, we can see where that line of storms has hit on the Illinois side of the Quad Cities, a line of power outages that has followed this storm. So it's exactly what you guys are talking about, of those high winds. Places over near Aquaca, you have about 30 people, couple dozen, but then Monmouth has close to 300 people that are without power. Actually, I should correct myself, close to 500 people in the Monmouth area that are without power. Galesburg has over 1,000 people just in Ameren Energy that is without. And then even Toulon, right where that storm is going across right now, we're getting close to about 160 people without power. So you can see the damage that this storm is leaving behind just on electricity and energy in the area.
Right, it doesn't take much as far as producing these power outages. I mean, with the winds that we've been hearing more about, 60, 70 miles an hour, it doesn't take much. And as we mentioned, even on the Iowa side in the Quad Cities, over 2,100 customers are without power. Mm-hmm. So we're keeping a really close watch on these storms. Yes, we're not forgetting our friends in Macomb. We've been keeping an eye on this storm, and certainly we're seeing some pretty decent circulation making its way right on top of Macomb itself. And pretty impressive what we're seeing in the wind velocity here, Andrew.
That is really impressive.
Wow.
Some good rotation. Again, that was a confirmed tornado.
Yep.
For that specific cell. And that one, it appears it's got more of a due east movement. It's not getting this northeast pole like some of the storms up here to the north have been getting at times. So that is still moving to the east, still a threat for Macomb at this hour. And eventually that should continue heading to the east as well. I was looking at the traffic data map because what Shelby and Harrison were talking about was some stuff near Orion. It also looks like Interstate 74 is closed from Knoxville all the way southeast until you get to just west of Brimfield.
Wow.
Is that what that is?
We do think that is for a crash that occurred earlier today, about 4 hours ago. We reached out to Illinois State Police to learn more. They did shut down the interstate in that area, but we haven't heard back yet. We've heard from some viewers it was a crash that took place.
Okay, interesting.
But that seemed to happen before the storms came through.
Before it came through, okay.
All right. I'm getting some pictures too, and eventually we'll show these off on our webpage at WQAD.com. Noticing some damage. It could be more of a mobile home that could be impacted here. Could be a trailer as well around Bosco. And I believe Bosco, help me out here, Andrew. Bosco is actually near Macomb.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of pictures coming out of there, as well as some of the rains. There are estimates of maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain that has fallen over in Hancock itself. No flood warnings as we've heard about, but certainly some serious ponding that very likely has taken effect. Now, keep in mind, this area hasn't been battered this early week with some very heavy rain. So this is the first big rain that they have seen this week, and why probably we're not worried about any type of flooding that may be going on there. Looks like they kind of shortened that tornado warning. That still includes the Macomb area, possibly for another probably 5 or 10 more minutes. And then Macomb, I think you'll be in the clear after that, as that part of the storm continues to make his way eastbound in your general direction.
Yep, we have that tornado warning, and we have one other lone kind of funky looking one here because it's
they're kind of holding back on that one, making kind of questioning whether they're going to try to
Yep.
extend that or not, but we'll see.
It's like, do we go into Bureau County? Do we not go into Bureau County? So they're just holding it right there at the edge. It still has a nice surge, and by that I mean you see how it's sticking out here on the top part of the line,
Yep.
indicating that damaging wind threat. You look at the reflectivity. Yep, we still have, or the velocity I should say, we still have these little indentations. In fact, there's one right there, south of the warning.
Oh, there you go. That's
Kinda
right.
leaning in a little bit. And then you have a few more little smoothed out ones within the line here too. But yeah, quick spin up tornado certainly possible heading into northeast Stark County. Again, we'll see what they do with this in Princeton.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, let's put a loop on there if we can.
Yeah.
And then let's throw like your ruler in there too, just to kind of get an idea of that part of the couplet. And there we go. And yeah, that's about right. Would you say
Yeah.
Look, it does have eyes for Princeton, that's for sure.
I could see maybe a severe thunderstorm warning with the tag tornado possible.
Which
Yeah.
I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe you're correct on that. So that may happen here very shortly from our friends at the National Weather Service. They are definitely looking at it very carefully and evaluating it, giving us maybe an idea what they're going to do given that broad circulation that's taking place. Now, we haven't heard anything in the past 45 minutes or hour regarding what has been coming out of there, except for maybe hail, maybe a little wind damage. I'm glad you put this up, Andrew. Boy, you were reading my mind on this one. My goodness, that's scary, in a good way. But let's go ahead and see what kind of reports that we have been getting, not only with the hail, but even some of that wind damage. It's certainly coming from that part of the storm itself when we had seen that couplet take place.
Yeah, and I think some of the earlier hail reports were from those northward moving storms before they merged into the line. So there's Toulon, and that was a photo shared on social media, 2-inch hail there, which would be easily your golf ball size. Also some more too, there's that sheet metal barn
Right, that you
talking
mentioned.
about the roof. Couple other larger than quarter-sized hailstones. Millbrook's in there. Another one from Millbrook further to the west here. Williamsfield had some hail as well. Tree snap, some wind damage also in Williamsfield. And there's some more Williamsfield damage too. Farm debris scattered about the field. And then there's the mention of the semi that was flipped over on Interstate 74. Yep. And that was, what was that, 6:03, so a little bit more than an hour ago.
Now, some of you probably in that general area are probably saying, well, do we get hit by a tornado or not? We just first have to initially go with the reports that we see now. Some of those, like Andrew just mentioned, are a bit detailed. Mm-hmm. Now, the question is, going into tomorrow, will the survey team kind of make some routes, make some visits to some of these locations? They could very likely do that and see if it was either straight line winds or an actual tornado itself. And it could very likely be that case just because of what we've been seeing on the wind velocity mode, seeing these little indentations, these notches that we have been noticing. So there is that possibility. Keep in mind that when we see these notches, it doesn't mean like a good full-fledged tornado. These could be little brief spin-ups. Of course, that makes it very, very challenging. And then when you combine that with, farm field, just seeing these storms maybe make their way through the farm fields itself, not many roads can lead us to, where that damage could have taken place. that makes it even more challenging. So the information could be very limited as to determine if it was a tornado or, in this case, maybe straight line winds. We'll see.
Very well could be, yeah, because you had it moving in that direction. So yeah, maybe a mix of both, and we'll see what the Lincoln Weather Service has to say about it. Got a couple of icons here down to Burlington. Those are wind gusts, and we'll pull up a few of those so you can see 54 miles per hour in Fort Madison. And let's go a little bit closer to Burlington, where it looks like we had a 47 mile per hour wind gust. So definitely not as strong as you go south near Burlington and Fort Madison. And remember, you know, we were kind of looking at the tornado zones and stuff today. It really didn't extend that far south. It was much further to the north, where we're seeing a lot more of these more substantial reports. There's more wind gusts, 66 miles per hour, Eldridge. We also had, what's this, 58 in Lowmore. And then, of course, we had all of this ongoing along Highway 20, which unfortunately just got hit multiple times today. Looks like northwest of Maquoketa, power lines snapped, possible tornado there near Maquoketa. Not good news there either, because they've also been hit in that general area multiple times this week. And then there's more of your hail reports here as you go into Joe Davis County. There's a big one, a big report. Looks like everything from ping pong to $half dollar, and then several branches down, 2 to 4 inches, and that's in Galena.
And look at the time of those two. That was from the earlier storms. Remember, these came in 2 waves, and that first one was the one we're really concerned about as far as seeing some strong tornadoes, but certainly plenty of hail reports and a little bit of some wind damage that took place right around Galena itself. And that was the first wave, and of course now that we're dealing with the main wave across our area, but not. You know, the tornado threats we're going to expect to be a bit more isolated just because of where that area of low pressure was going to be tracking, which was really focused in areas more in the northeastern Iowa and eventually going into southern Wisconsin. And you can see even some of the tornado icons kind of were reported right along the Illinois-Wisconsin border itself. So that kind of makes a lot of sense of what we've been seeing ever since early this afternoon.
Yeah, lines up well with what our expectations were for the day, that we were going to see that threat certainly maximize the farther north that you go.
Right, yeah.
Still an impressive line, good line of wind coming through, where you've still got some warnings ongoing.
And speaking of, they just issued that, you were right, Andrew. They issued a thunderstorm warning for parts of Bureau and even Putnam.
So they did it.
Yeah.
See if it'll pop up in our populating the system here in just a second.
And as it does, I'll give you the details. It's moving east around 40 miles an hour. They're still concerned about winds maybe peaking as high as 70 miles an hour. This has all been radar indicated. Not showing if it has the potential of maybe even producing a tornado. I think there is maybe the upper right-hand corner of that.
Sure, yeah, we'll throw the banner on there, see if it'll let me do it, and we'll go right to it, because obviously it's going to want to go to the highest one first, which is that ongoing tornado warning, but let's see if we can get this one centered. There we go. Now they're saying considerable damage, probably because of those 70-mile-per-hour winds.
Yeah. Upper right-hand corner, that is in downtown Rock Falls, I believe.
Yep, that's right, downtown Rock Falls.
And they're getting some, looks like a good steady rain that is taking place, but looks like the wind's not a concern, mainly because the main line is now just east of Sterling itself, so yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the strong wind potential is now further to the south in Bureau County. At least that's where it's really well defined. Maybe as close as Tampico and also Deer Grove when it comes to that region, but where you're seeing this transition from this really bright green to these fiery reds, this is the wind line. So the leading edge of the wind is right here, and you can see it gets quite strong there as those yellows approach on the radar there. So very strong winds moving into eastern Bureau County, just west of Princeton, right along Interstate 80. In fact, there's a really core of intense winds, it looks like, following right along the interstate itself. Right near Sheffield, to the north of Buda, it looks like we have some intensifying winds, and that's what you're seeing with those yellows. That's all moving due east. So you've got Wyanett, you've got Princeton, like I just mentioned, Sheffield's in there. Dover, Depew, Bureau Junction, all going to be seeing those really strong winds. Of course, you have the strong wind that's also still going over Stark County, and again has that brief spin-up tornado threat with it too. Still seeing, a little curlicue in here from time to time, but nothing substantial in terms of it being strong. Or really kind of getting our attention, if you will.
It's kind of more of a waiting game to see what takes place with that notch. But whether it's spinning or not, I mean, it's still got a good amount of wind with it. And that's a big concern that we have. Remember, folks, that this entire line has been producing numerous power outages. Some have been just brief power outages. Some have been flickering. But that's the concern that we were expecting with this line that was going to make its way through, this second line that was going to make its way through our early evening sky. So that's why we were concerned about that. And not just that, but certainly, the threat of seeing any spin-ups. We're at that point right now where it's almost a challenge as far as trying to get any good spinning going on that may produce a tornado. We're kind of more in that wind threat, heavy rain threat than anything, but it's certainly one that has to be keep an eye on as we see that notch. That really hasn't changed much at all. I believe that we have some video coming out of Interstate 74.
Yes, we do. This is from our reporter Jonas Evans from a little while ago, if you recall the other video that we played.
Yes,
this is a semi flipped on its side in the grass median. Both southbound lanes are currently blocked, according to our reporter on scene there, and police are now letting cars through the shoulder. This is just north of Orion.
Just north of Orion itself. And obviously, it looks like we're talking about some wind that was struck in that area. Once again, this was a storm that had winds in excess of 60, even 70 miles an hour. I believe, even Andrew, help me out here, I think this was the one that had the potential of producing 80-mile-an-hour winds.
It was.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
It was warned for 80-mile-per-hour winds. And yeah, if you're a semi-truck driver or driving any big vehicle, that's going to be a problem. And hopefully no injuries with that. That looks pretty nasty.
Yeah. And that's kind of somewhat surprising, too, because, one of the things that even Morgan brought up was when she was doing her chasing, coming back from Iowa, making her way back here into Illinois, is, being on Interstate 80, going west to east, kind of being parallel with those winds. Your chance of being jarred by those winds were pretty minimal, but, it doesn't take much, a little twist in that line, and we were keeping an eye on all these little couplets along it. Doesn't take much to kind of briefly change those winds pretty intensely and then back to more of a normal west to east flow. So that could very likely have been the case with what took just place right there near Orion on Interstate 74.
Yeah, I'd believe it. It was a very strong signature as it was coming over across that region. So more problems there. Probably won't be the last report we'll see of something like that, especially with these winds now south of Galesburg with that other strong surge that's just coming up from kind of southwest of, northeast of Macomb. Another little surge of wind that's going to come across the I-74 corridor from Knox County into Peoria. We're already starting to see that surge of wind move into southeast Knox County.
Yeah.
So maybe even more problems for I-74 to come. Not to mention, Interstate 80 here doesn't have too much a problem with this kind of a setup because we're talking about winds going along the interstate as opposed to coming from the north or south. That would certainly give us some problems. But if you watch that little spin there southwest of Princeton, if that becomes something bigger, then that could certainly cause a problem.
Right, and as you can see with the loop, that really helps us out a lot. Where is it targeting? And it looks like it's going to be really, really close, if not on top of Princeton itself. So Princeton, home of the Tigers. I know, that's Tiger country. You want to make sure that you are aware because we could get an update on this storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. Well, and what do you know?
We just got it.
We just got it.
There it is. Yep. So
oh my goodness.
The new warning is out. Let's peel away some of the layers here. We'll get you the details on the warning. Again, just came out from the National Weather Service. This includes much of Bureau County, especially center and points east. It also includes all of Putnam County, and we'll put the banner on there so you can see when that's going to be valid until, and it looks like 8:45. So Depew, Granville, Princeton, Spring Valley, right outside of LaSalle, Peru, you're included in this until 8:45, and it looks like this is a radar-detected tornado. So we don't have confirmation of anything on the ground, but I'm guarantee they're looking at the same thing that James and I have been staring at now. It feels like for more than an hour.
Yeah.
This thing has been racing from the the southeast. But yeah, still enough of a bend there that we could get a quick little development here.
Yeah, and it is really moving, 65 miles an hour.
Wow. Yeah,
this
that's
storm
picked
is
up.
moving. So, you know, with that kind of speed, you know, questioning, you know, whether the timing, 8:45, is going to be certainly a lot sooner than that, given the speed that we're dealing with. So, yeah, you can see as we put the tracker on there, it will already be around South Peru around 8:23. We're concerned about Princeton. Maybe in the next, it's about less than 10 miles away.
Yep.
Southwest of Princeton.
Very close.
So given the speed of that, 10 minutes and it will be impacting you guys over in Princeton. So make sure you're hearing the sirens out there. You are definitely hearing the sirens out there. This is where you need to get your safe place. Just because, you know, this, we are seeing it on the radar. We're seeing it on our wind velocity mode here. And we're actually seeing a little bit of that inflow going in there with that couplet there, that little notch. So that's what we're really concerned about. It's it's heading right toward Princeton, Illinois itself.
Yeah, it is. So not only going to get the strong wind, we have to watch and see, can this southern portion here, what I'm looking at is this right here, can we get this to tighten up just a little bit more, get that angle to get a little bit smaller here, indicating some tightening of the rotation. Certainly the wind is increasing ahead of it. I mean, look at the brighter colors you've got here on the north side of that circulation. You've got some strong winds on the other side too. So just a matter of dynamics. Can you get this to get a little bit tighter heading into Princeton? So you're under the tornado warning, even though, again, it's not spotter confirmed. I think it's worth taking the precaution right now. Just get to the basement, especially if you're in Princeton. That is its next target.
Let's go to Jonas right now over on in Interstate 74, where we saw that that semi that has been rolled over. So Jonas, go ahead. What you're seeing from your location?
Well, James, you mentioned it. The rolled over semi is back on its feet. This is very much disrupting traffic, though. We are just north of Orion, like you mentioned, on I-74, and a semi-truck had flipped onto its side into the grass median. We do not have any indications of what caused it just yet, but it is causing severe traffic. When we were driving southbound towards Galesburg, it had slowed down significantly to a standstill, and they actually aren't even able to get cars through a single lane right now. They're using the shoulder, which means the traffic is moving very, very slowly. So if you are planning on using this road to get southbound, to get to Galesburg or anywhere further than that, it's going to be very difficult. These cars are moving at a snail's pace right now, especially because there are multiple semis that have to get through there. So very much disrupting, but it is important to note the semi is back on its wheels. So we'll see when they can get that out of here. We'll keep you updated, James.
I noticed right behind you, Jonas, too, it looks like there's a kind of a drone that, want to make sure that no one's getting freaked out there. That is actually a drone that's kind of surveying the damage that took place.
Yes, it's a drone.
Okay.
That is a drone, correct, James.
We just want people make sure no alien ship or anything like that. We just want to make sure.
No UFO as far as we're concerned. Last time I checked.
Thank goodness.
And it looks like, Jonas, they are trying to get some traffic through there as we speak, right? It looks like right now
It's kind of been going. It's been going in waves. I'm not sure, they might have, because when they were using the shoulder when my photographer and I passed through there, now it looks like it's moving a little bit faster. But honestly, James, we've been here for about 10 minutes. I can't even imagine how long that line is. We're going to see that, but I can't even imagine. It might even be backed up all the way up there towards Coal Valley. So we'll see.
Any idea if the driver is okay, or do we have any report on that?
No confirmation on that just yet. We haven't seen any ambulances, and we didn't witness anyone, but they are still working on that truck, but no indication of any driver or anything like that right now.
All right, Jonas, great stuff there out near Orion itself off of Interstate 74. Keep us updated if anything new does develop.
Will do, James.
All right, thanks, Jonas. Once again, we are keeping an eye on that one storm, some circulation taking place right here, just near the Princeton area itself. You can see it's just outside of town, and it will definitely be making its way right through the town itself. Once again, we haven't heard any reports in the last 10 or 15 minutes that there's actually a tornado on the ground. We just don't have the eyes out there. We haven't heard any reports, but nonetheless, what we're seeing on our velocity mode is some circulation. This has really held together for the past hour or so, and continues to make his way off to the north and east. So for us to see anything really on the ground, if we had to relate it to our velocity mode, we kind of need this area to kind of turn a little bit more. All right, and that will certainly give us a really confident indication as to something that may be actually on the ground itself. But that circulation coming right on top of Princeton itself as it makes its way off to the north and east.
Still a good indentation there,
Yeah.
And even on the reflectivity, the radar presentation, you can see a little wrapping around right in there, southwest of town. So we'll have to watch that for just a little while longer. Want to clean up a couple of other things here really quickly as we zoom the map out here in terms of warnings. So Galesburg at this time, you're clear. Knoxville is clear. We are also going to call the all clear, it looks like, for Henry County, Illinois. You are done. Again, Bureau County still have some time left here on that tornado warning. Whiteside County is done. Everything in Carroll County has been cleared off. Joe Davies County has also been cleared off. So now we're focusing on Bureau County, Stark County, eastern Knox County, and then also down here near Macomb. But even I would say for Macomb, you're done at this point. Our system hasn't cleared this off yet, but the other system I'm looking at has Macomb completely out of everything. So again, right now, it's focusing the attention on eastern Knox County, into Stark County and Bureau County. Those are the last few areas we have left here to track. So it is likely that we're probably going to wrap up perhaps as early as 8:15. We'll see again what that little area of rotation does in Bureau County. That's really the only biggest area of concern, if you will, right now.
Right.
There is still an active tornado warning. If you go down here, I'll put that back on. That's in eastern Knox County, but I think that's more for areas to the northeast of you. And I really don't see too much in terms of some circulation in there. It doesn't look really impressive.
No.
Not as worrisome as what we're seeing up here, near Princeton, where it's a little bit more kind of put together, if you will.
Right. Yeah, that we're likely going to be canceling
Yeah,
that one,
I
just
could see
what we're
that.
seeing right there.
Yeah.
So really the focus is the activity that's now making its way through Bureau County, especially right on top of Princeton itself. And once again, stress again, Macomb, I think you're now in the clear as that line has now made its way east of the university itself. So that's some good news. Of course, that storm is now east, heading toward Canton itself, not in our viewing area, and that is some fairly good news. A lot of inflow going in with that part of the storm, a lot of bending going on, so that's where they're going to expect to see some pretty strong winds that may be taking place, and even the possibility of seeing some brief circulation as indicative of those little notches that we see farther south of the Galesburg and east of the Macomb area itself. Kind of on the waning stages of that storm, located just east of Whiteside County, heading in toward Ogle County as well.
Yeah, that's really...
Or Lee County, I should say.
Yeah, even the lightning has really thinned down considerably, and the velocity data not showing any strong winds left there. Still that strong surge of wind, though, right through Princeton and Bureau County, and that strong surge of wind is also pretty much moved out of Stark County at this point, too. Based on what I'm seeing on the velocity data.
Yeah, so you may be right there, Andrew, as far as the timing. We'll go until about, I would say, 8:15.
Yeah.
8:30 at the latest. But keep in mind, this part of the storm that Andrew is showing here with the loop, this part of the storm is moving around 60 to 65 miles an hour. Okay, so likely, even with this warning going on until, 8:45, that may be changing within the next 10 or 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I could see that going early, especially like you said, the rate that this is moving. I'm even we can put the tracker on there, and what I'll do is, or I'll put the ruler, and we'll speed up the speed, because right now the timing is for about 50 to 55. We'll speed that up a little bit here, kind of giving it more real time.
Right.
To show you when this is likely going to exit. So you're looking at, probably about 8:15 is when it'll be out of the warning polygon that it's in now.
So, we'll certainly help making sure our friends out in Lamoille and Cherry, Spring Valley, we are not going away until that storm has made its way just to the east of you. And as Andrew just showed you, should be eventually making its way through your area going into the next 15 minutes or so. But that circulation now is certainly quickly advancing its way in your direction, and should be right through the next 15 minutes. And after that, you're going to probably deal with maybe a good old-fashioned thunderstorm with some rain, with some lightning, maybe even just a little bit of some wind. But really, the threat should be over with as we make our way into these next 15 minutes. And once we do, then we will go ahead and go back to regular programming. No question, coming up on News 8 at 10, we'll be updating you as far as reports of any damage that we've heard about, any possible power outages that continue, and which may continue for some hometowns, possibly through most of the night as well. Fortunately, the good news is things are looking very quiet as we make our way into the weekend. And it's going to stay that way really through most of next week until about maybe this time next week that we bring in our next round of some scattered showers and thunderstorms. No question, it has been one of the busiest weeks we've seen when it comes to severe weather, one that we haven't seen yet in really quite a while when it comes to these multiple rounds of severe weather. You may kind of question, you know, has this been really the peak of really severe weather season? Really not quite the case, I would say, just because that, you know, here we are in mid-April, and usually the peak of severe weather not only continues through April, but really through May and early June itself. So this could be simply a sign of what to expect really as we go through these next couple of months or so. But it has certainly, Andrew, been keeping us very busy so far this spring season.
No kidding. We've been getting our reps in. As of you at home, you know, a lot of you have commented, I feel like I've spent the week in the basement. Yeah, it's been busy, no doubt. But you know what? Practice makes perfect. So when we get the nasty stuff that continues into May and June and July and all the other stuff that comes our way during those months, you guys will be well seasoned and ready to go and be prepared. A new severe thunderstorm warning was just, I want to point this out, it was just issued to the east of Bureau County. And notice it's not a tornado warning. So that tells me that would now be, I believe, the Chicago office that's covering that territory.
Yeah, we're at Marcel's, I think, Lewis University, I think.
Yeah. So
where the radar is, yeah.
They obviously aren't seeing the tornado threat, looks like, you know, sustain itself much as it goes into beyond what's in Bureau County right now. I'm kind of curious. We'll go into their radar, Chicago's radar, I should say, just to see, you know, get a little glimpse into what it looks like from their vantage point. And yeah, they have access to the Quad Cities radar as well. But still, it's always a good idea to look at multiple different angles when it comes to these storms. And there's still a little rotation, still a little broad rotation, but it's still just not tightening up yet.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting when you were at that with the Romeoville radar there, and you know, really impressed what I saw just north of Princeton there. That little couplet that we see there, that was right there off of 26 there.
Yeah, north of town near 26. Yeah, that looks a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Than what we were kind of watching with the bend to the south, and that's not even in the warning.
But yeah, but the thing is that this is moving so quickly now. And what, like we said, once again, folks, is why we're pretty much going to go to network in the next 15 minutes or so. So certainly keeping an eye on those storms as they continue to make their way off toward the north and east. Still keeping an eye on those little couplets that we are noticing just outside of Princeton itself and going into places a little farther north of Princeton, right around the wonderful town of Walnut. Right there near the Lee County and Bureau County border there off of 92. So I haven't heard any confirmation of anything on the ground, but no question seeing a little bit of some wind that is taking place there as well. Shelby, you have some information for us.
Yeah, we're wondering if Colin, our team in the booth, if you guys can pop this up for us. Again, this is some of the damage that we're starting to see. This is out of Viola. This is the Beanfield Coffee Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Look at those bricks on the ground right there. And there's more photos that they had posted. There are trees all right there. Trees all over the place. There's debris all over. This is in Viola in Mercer County, but we are starting to see images like this pop up from all over our viewing area. A lot of it on the Illinois side, around the Mercer, Knox, Henderson County areas. We are also seeing the power outages tick up considerably, including in the immediate Quad Cities where we have over 2,700 people that are without power in the immediate metro. But the most outages by far are with Ameren, and that is just that line of storms that went across from Aquaca all the way up to Toulon and past. It is still close to 2,000 people, about 1,100 people in Galesburg alone that don't have power right now. But again, that image is coming out of Viola, where it looks like the wind ripped those bricks right off the building.
Yeah, you can see the wall there without all the bricks came right off of there.
Oh my goodness, that is something.
And I remember, James, we were tracking rotation
Yes.
near Viola.
That's right. That's right. So it was there's certainly a connection there to what we saw on radar to now what we're seeing as far as the damage that took place in that general area. So that is something and that was really impressive. I'm hoping we can actually get a picture of the guys at the power outages that you guys saw, and pictures say 1,000 words. We would love to kind of see that once you get a chance. Let us just know when that does pop up. But right now, the concern that we are seeing here is really pretty much eastern portions of Bureau County. Right now, advancing his way just north and east of Princeton itself. That's the area that we are seeing some of that circulation taking place. We haven't heard about any tornado or anything like that on the ground, but when we see that kind of circulation, we just have to be aware. You can see the concentration of lightning right around, just right near Princeton and points to the north. So when you're dealing with that type of movement of air, and maybe even that movement air being very quick, that can certainly allow for that rubbing, part of the electrical charging that's going on, okay? And that usually could be a sign of something taking place there, okay? In the form of whether it may be spinning or maybe even a good rush of wind from that part of the storm itself.
Yeah, very quick spin up. That's what happens with these things. Something could show up one scan, 2-3 minutes later on the next radar scan, it is gone. So that, again, that's moving now into extreme northeastern Bureau County. And it is a good surge of wind too. What I'm showing you here, again, you're looking at the fiery red colors. That's where the strongest winds are. So we have really strong winds into Princeton right now, extending all the way down to western Putnam County, right down to Interstate 80. In fact, right at Interstate 80 is where it looks like the strongest winds exist right now, just south of Interstate 80 and south of Princeton. So that's going to be getting into LaSalle, Peru here shortly, right into I-39. This is the Chicago radar, but even if you go to the Quad Cities radar, you can see those really bright, really hot colors coming into Interstate 180, and that is all jumping off to the northeast. And it sounds like the Chicago National Weather Service office is going to issue another warning, and it's going to be, it sounded like a tornado warning for southeastern Lee County, I believe. I'll have to read the message again and see what it said.
Oh, because of that circulation?
Because of that circulation, yeah.
But fortunately, being outside of our viewing area, that would be some good news.
Yeah, so it looks
That's our biggest focus is our viewing area, yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so if you're watching us, and I believe we're talking about Cherry, Lamoille up there in northeastern Bureau County.
Yep,
there's Lamoille right there.
Arlington.
Guys,
not
are you able
forgetting
to
about
check?
you guys.
Are you able to check Spring Valley? I know we've had a couple of viewers ask about what's going on in Spring Valley, Illinois.
Spring Valley.
There it is, just south of Interstate 80, of course. And if we're going to bring, now we know where Spring Valley is, now kind of zoom out a little bit, a little hard to see here, but certainly some wind that's getting ready to push its way through Spring Valley itself. More intense winds could very likely be just north and west of Spring Valley and heading toward ports of northeastern Bureau County, as we mentioned, right around Lamoille and Cherry there, right off of 89 that we see.
Yeah, looks like a good corridor wind there, especially along Interstate 80. And I agree, I think that's going to go just to your north.
Yeah, so I think for our friends in Spring Valley, I think you're okay. I think you're going to be dealing with a good old-fashioned storm that's going to have some wind with it, some nice lightning, some good rain, no question about that. We are seeing maybe what we're seeing here, and this is reflectivity?
Reflectivity, yep.
Yeah, that's some nice rain coming your way for your lawns and gardens. So that's some good news right there.
A lot of lightning, so bonus.
But still some pretty good lightning. Where we saw that core, to the north and east. That's still making its way off to the north and east there. So that's why we're just a little concerned. We got probably about another 5 more minutes or so. And I think the worst part of that storm is going to be making its way outside of that northeastern corner there of Bureau County. So that's some good news.
Yeah, it's moving quick. I mean, the strongest area of winds you can see northeast part of the county right up in here, leading edge of the strong wind, just now getting into northeast Bureau County. Another little surge of some wind again down here near the I-80 corridor where it kind of starts and tails off, just south of LaSalle, Peru. That's where you're going to get some strong winds.
Yeah, pushing off toward the north and east. A lot of reports of, we're getting a confirmed report out of Hennepin.
Okay.
Wonderful town of Hennepin. I'll get it out. It's been a long day. Had a wind gust close to 60 miles an hour out there. So want to thank that train spotter for bringing that up. But Hennepin is just off to the south and east there of Princeton, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Southeast of Princeton.
Yeah, a lot of damage reported in areas right around Carthage. Some impressive shots being reported out there. Colmar and McDonough County, a lot of sheds. A couple of, looks like a grain bin that was just twisted into small sheets of metal. So really impressive, some of the pictures that we're getting just south of around McDonough County and even around Hancock itself. But other than that, really we're at the only point now we're at is this part of the storm getting ready to quickly make its way through extreme northeastern Bureau County. We got another 4 or 5 more minutes, I would say, of severe weather coverage. And once again, we will go back to, we're going to go back to network eventually and get ourselves refreshed and ready to go for the 10 o'clock show at coming up in just about less than 2 hours or so.
And I'm on LAD right now just because I got a message from a viewer in LAD saying that they had just lost power. Power is out in LAD.
Okay.
So that's just north of Spring Valley, right off of Interstate 80 there.
Yeah, and if we're getting some good wind, you can't, folks in Spring Valley, you could get some flickers of that power outage at your place as well, okay? I want to make that perfectly clear because you're going to still get some wind, and it doesn't take much as far as producing maybe a brief power outage or just some flickering that may be going on in your hometown. So just keep that in mind. But what's really pronounced is what we're seeing in northeastern Bureau County, where it does have some even better wind with it, and the likelihood of maybe seeing some power briefly take place in those particular areas, especially right around the Lamoille area, which is an extreme northeastern Bureau County.
Yeah, and that's where we're also seeing the circulation move off, and it's moving out of the county as we speak. In fact, there's the brand new
that warning from the Weather Service in Chicago?
Yep, southeast Lee County and also into parts of LaSalle County. They have put that down, again, for that circulation that we were seeing lifting out of northeast Bureau County. And of course, those little circulations on the southern tail of those, that's why the warning goes all the way down to LaSalle, Peru. You can get those quick little spin-ups. You can't rule that out. But for sure, you can see the majority of the rotation is right up here in northeast Bureau County. And so far, just based on the velocity data we've been looking at, it just has not been capable of producing much of anything quite yet.
Yeah, nothing that's really spinning, but still some good winds. I mean, they're indicating that those winds can still top near 70 miles an hour. So kind of not surprised that they've extended that into a tornado warning in parts of LaSalle County itself. But even if it's not spinning, it's certainly indicative of producing some wind damage and maybe the possibility of seeing that power outages as well. But nonetheless, it is moving pretty quickly, as we mentioned, moving around 65 miles an hour or so. And should be out of here in just a little bit. Time on the clock says 8:13. Let's go on for just another 5 more minutes.
Sure.
If we can, Andrew.
Yep.
And then we'll kind of call it a night when it comes to our severe weather coverage. And we want to thank everyone for being really patient with us. I know in a lot of our hometowns right now, things have really calmed down. We want to make sure that everyone is aware when it comes to our viewers that we're not going back to network until really what we see the threat come to an end, all right? So thank you for being so patient. Want to thank, too, everyone who's been sending in videos and pictures, which we'll be certainly updating on our newscast at 10 o'clock. So we want to thank you on that as well. You know, our job certainly is to make sure that we have as many resources as we can to tell you what is happening now and what eventually is going to be happening in the future. I want to give, once again, hats off to Morgan Strackbine, who was in our storm chasing vehicle, the Beast itself. She was very busy. She encountered some pretty intense winds, kind of shook the Beast a little bit here and there, but we call it a Beast for a reason, and it didn't flip over or anything like that. It held its ground. That took place just near Nichols itself, just near Conesville in Iowa. So hats off to her. She did a really good job in pinpointing some of these storms that certainly had some type of circulation with it. And so hats off to her when it comes to her chasing abilities, let's put it that way, okay? She's been well tested these past few years, and what a heck of a job she did, just because of the fact having those eyes just makes such a huge difference in really understanding these storms that have been going on across our area.
So fortunate to have those eyes and those experienced eyes, expert eyes out in the field, because she has been through her fair share of storms in the last couple of years, that is for sure.
Yeah, no question. And once again, we want to make sure we only have a few minutes away here, folks. But once again, still got some good winds that are going on and around eastern portions of Bureau County. We've already had reports around Ladd of power out because of these strong winds, and very likely with that wave now making its way into places like around Cherry and even around Lamoille. We could very likely be talking about some power outages going out there as well. Hopefully, those power outages are going to be brief. That's the big news that we have going on. One of the things that we're also going to be keeping an eye on with all this heavy rain, especially that took place north of the Quad Cities itself, we're going to be concerned about flooding that would be going on, some swelling of not only the Mississippi, but certainly going into the Rock River. Around Joslyn and even in Moline, along the Rock River itself. We could be talking about flooding maybe upwards of maybe over 4 feet above flood stage or close to it around Joslyn by the time we get to about Monday of next week. Whereas over in Moline along the Rock River itself, we may be talking about flood stage, which is at 12 feet, possibly reaching close to 2 feet above flood stage. Up to our north, we had, 2 days ago, we had reports of 2 to 4 inches of rain. Today, in those same areas along Highway 20, an additional 1 to 3 inches of rain. So all that will be making its way downstream, and that's why if you are going to be making your way along the Mississippi itself, crossing over the I-74 bridge, you'll probably be noticing the Mississippi looking a little swollen from the rains that we've had in these past few days or so.
And James, I want to quickly give some traffic updates, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Some things
Go
we've
right
been
ahead.
following. Colin or someone in the booth, if you can, Harrison's got this video pulled back up again. Once again, this is from probably about an hour ago at this point. This was this semi that was flipped over on I-74,
Yep.
is it? Yep. We want to let you know an update. We did find out from police on the scene. This is from our reporter, Jonas Evans. The driver was sent to the hospital with minor injuries, according to police. So we at least know that the driver is okay with minor injuries in the hospital. And then as for that other traffic incident we were watching in Knox County, the eastbound lane of I-74 was closed. We just got, in the last 10 minutes, an update from the Illinois State Police. They tell us the Illinois Department of Transportation is announcing this evening eastbound Interstate 74 Knox County is closed until Wednesday, they are anticipating, weather permitting. And that is due to emergency pavement repairs to the bridge deck over the Spoon River. So traffic is being detoured to US 150. That is the eastbound I-74 in Knox County. I wish I had a better exact location where in Knox County that is for you, but that is around the Spoon River, traffic being detoured to US 150. According to IDOT, that'll be going on until at least Wednesday.
I mean, that's something that hopefully the newsroom is hearing right now. Shelby, that's fantastic. I'm glad you brought that up. Hopefully we can actually, by the time we get to our newscast at 10 o'clock, we can get maybe a kind of a graph, a map of that and eventually that detour that we expect to see. And you did say, Shelby, all the way till Wednesday of next week.
The exact statement is the repairs are anticipated to be completed and the interstate reopened by Wednesday, weather permitting.
Fortunately, things are looking quiet all the way to Wednesday. So that is some good news. Great job on that for finding that out. And of course, we'll certainly update that too, address that again on our newscast at around 10 o'clock. But that is certainly some major news that is going on right around the Spoon River itself off of Interstate 74. We're pretty much on the winding stages of this severe weather event. As we kind of make our way back toward extreme northeastern Bureau County, things are really calming down very nicely in those particular areas, Andrew.
Yeah, Princeton is clear. You are officially out of the warning. And honestly, looking at the radar presentation, I think it's safe to say the threat is now moving out of Bureau County.
Yeah, that's outside of Bureau County. So we're good right there. Everything else that we've been noticing on the wind velocity, nothing really that has really stuck out when it comes to our viewing area. So that is some good news. So the worst of the storms have now made their way. It's just out of our viewing area. That's some great news, of course. There's still a little bit more rain to go coming in from areas to our south and west, but that's really it, just in the form of some rain. So what we're going to do, we're going to make our way back to network. We will certainly update you on the whereabouts of some of the damage that has taken place with this storm. We'll hopefully get some more details too about the information that's been going on along Interstate 74 as well. Folks, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on News 8 at 10.